Chapter 484. Yen Zhaoge drew his bow to the fullest extent, his gaze fixed on the east rising lord who was attempting to flee. His fingers loosened and the bowstring trembled. The devil-shattering arrow left the bowstring, instantly piercing through the void and piercing through the chest of the east rising lord. The east rising lord wanted to dodge, but having been affected by the power of the great golden seal earlier, he was unable to move due to his heavy injuries. The devil-shattering arrow shot straight through his back and out his chest, piercing right through him. The gaping hole in his chest began to expand unceasingly, causing the body of the east rising lord to seem like it was about to be devoured by the wound on his body. Nothing more than an avatar. He snorted coldly. His body stopped struggling, as if he didn't care too much. He only felt a bit regretful. However, the next moment, the east rising lord's face changed drastically. Devil-shattering arrow. There's someone in this world who knows how to craft the devil-shattering arrow. It wasn't just the east rising lord's body that was constantly breaking apart, passing through layers of time and space. In a distant and unknown land, there seemed to be something else that was collapsing and being destroyed along with it. The door of the 9 Serenities, which was suppressed by the golden talisman, even shook a little. On the other side of the door, there seemed to be a violent impact. Anger, hatred, pain, and despair seemed to have traversed through time and space. After shooting the arrow, Yen Zhaoge kept Heaven Shocker, no longer looking at the east rising lord as he directly turned and shot towards the black hole on the other side. Behind him, the final howls of the east rising lord could be heard before everything instantly returned to silence. There were still scattered 9, hell's baleful chi scattered in the surrounding abyss, but the rampaging demons from before had already dissipated. The golden light on the surface of the golden seal disappeared, and the powerful aura converged. It quietly floated in the void, like an ordinary red copper seal platform. Yen Zhaoge couldn't even be bothered to look at this seal as he lunged before the black hole. A huge suction force came from the black hole, wanting to suck Yen Zhaoge within as well. Yen Zhaoge took out the lofty prestige mirror, infusing his true essence within as a streak of mirror light shot out. The mirror light fell on the black hole, and for a moment, the black hole seemed to be still. After stabilizing himself, Yen Zhaoge hurriedly gazed within the black hole. The figures of Yuan Zhengfeng and Fang Zhuan had fallen into a formless vortex, still sinking unceasingly. Yen Zhaoge's heart ached. Unlike those evil devils, the two had entered the black hole of their own accord, having already long since fallen to an irreversible state. The lofty prestige mirrors light locked onto the entrance of the black hole, but the two of them continued to sink. It looked like they were about to disappear into the boundless spatial turbulence. Yen Zhaoge swiveled his head to look at that seal. This seal was too powerful, making it difficult to activate. The fist will incarnation, left behind by the original owner of the seal, was specially used to reseal the door of the 9 Serenities. Now that it had been used up, it disappeared. The seal also fell silent again, and it was even more silent than before. Amidst the chaotic flows of space, streams of clear qi extended outwards from Yuan Zhengfeng's clear qi robe, entangling with the black hole. The old man's expression was tranquil as he smiled at Yen Zhaoge. Being able to feel that the devilish qi outside has been cleansed completely, I believe that it was not Baldi Shen who returned, but rather your handiwork, Zhaoge? Yen Zhaoge's gaze turned cold. Returning after leaving? What's going on with Shunli? Yuan Zhengfeng said he ran away. If he hadn't run, we might not have needed to use this method of mutual destruction, still being able to persevere until you succeeded. However, with him running away, he indeed didn't have to bear any risk at all. Even having no future threat from the 9 underworlds, Yuan Zhengfeng smiled self-mockingly, From the looks of it, Baldy Shin is indeed smarter than this old man. Yan Zhaoge's face sunk. Shunli, being a little stupid is being a little stupid. This old man does not regret it. Yuan Zhengfeng said. This old man entering the chaotic flows of space is not a situation where death is certain. I might still have a chance to return to the Eight Extremities world in the future, or we might meet again in another world one day. He looked to the side. Fang Zhuan's eyes were closed, already unconscious, as he seemed to be in a deep slumber. However, your second apprentice uncle can't hold on any longer, his essence blood collapsing. If he doesn't enter the chaotic flows of space, he might even perish. Looking at Fang Zhuan, the scene of that youth entering Broad Creed Mountain and entering his tutelage many years ago surfaced within Yuan Zhengfeng's mind. The clear qi surged as the clear qi robe suddenly detached from Yuan Zhengfeng's body, enveloping Fang Zhuan's body. Seeing this, Yan Zhaoge was shocked. "Grandmaster!" Yuan Zhengfeng smiled. "While this old man can't get out, I can still send my disciple out at the end of the day." Amidst his laughter, Yuan Zhengfeng's left hand suddenly exploded, transforming into a mist of blood. The mist of blood flew upwards, transforming into streaks of blood-red light, first severing the threads of blood on Fang Zhuan's body that were entangled with the black hole before transforming into a large hand, lifting the clear qi robe and Fang Zhuan upwards together. Accompanied by Fang Zhuan's ascent, Yuan Zhengfeng's body descended at an accelerated rate. Yan Zhaoge's heart tightened, but he didn't dare to hesitate in the slightest, lest Yuan Zhengfeng's efforts go to waste, as he hurriedly caught Fang Zhuan with all his might. Looking at Yuan Zhengfeng again, his figure was already blurry amidst the chaotic flows of space, appearing incomparably far away. The old man smiled amiably, waving his remaining right hand. "Take good care of yourselves, my children." Yan Zhaoge could only feel a surge of injustice surging within his chest as he suddenly let out a long howl. Above his head, a silhouette flickered. Within that silhouette, 9 spirit leaves flickered with radiance, profound runes inscribed on their surfaces, all of them different yet all containing profound principles. Outside of the 9 spirit leaves, in the air, a 10th spirit leaf appeared, seemingly located in an immeasurable place, hard to describe. Open. The 10 spirit leaves shook together. Streams of radiance lit up on Yan Zhaoge's body. Streams of ice blue, refined qi, one after another, streams of golden sunlight one after another, all flooding onto the spirit leaves. As the spirit leaves swayed, bright light agglomerated on their surfaces, forming a ball of light which slowly rose into the air. The small ball of light hovered above the spirit leaves before its light abruptly illuminated the surrounding area, resembling flowers blooming together. The 9 spirit flowers were the first to bloom simultaneously. Illusory light enveloped Yan Zhaoge's entire body, forming a massive pillar of light which shot into the skies, piercing through the entire universe. Within this pillar of light, which seemed real whilst illusory, myriad scenes changed, the stars in the sky circulating as it seemed to be projecting the changes of prehistoric times. Within the deep abyss of the earth domain, which had previously been gloomy, the singing of the great Tao of the heavens and the earth resounded unceasingly. This was the scene of a martial practitioner attaining the pinnacle of spirituality, advancing from the mid-essence spirit martial grandmaster realm to the late essence spirit martial grandmaster realm, the blossoming of spirit flowers from the spirit leaves, resonating with the principles of the heavens and the earth. This step established a foundation for the martial practitioner to continue climbing towards greater heights, determining what heights they would be able to reach in the future. It was a once-in-a-lifetime achievement for every martial grandmaster. 9 leaves blossoming 9 flowers was precisely the pinnacle scene within. Therefore, the singing of the great Tao of the heavens and the earth was exceptionally clear, vast, and distant, lasting for a long time. Meanwhile, In the air above Yen Zhaoge's head, that illusory 10th spirit leaf also blossomed with light at this moment. The light was not bright nor dazzling, instead being even more profound and indiscernible. The 10th spirit flower blossomed above Yen Zhaoge's head, enveloping him within the illusory pillar of light. All the colorful phenomena completely vanished, a chaotic scene appearing instead. It was as though the world's creation had instantly returned to before the primordial world had opened. With the essence blood of the ice dragon as a foundation and having comprehended the changes in the light of the sun, having received the enlightenment of the true martial intent of that great golden seal, Yen Zhaoge had successfully stepped into the 6th level of the martial grandmaster realm, the late essence spirit stage. True martial soul, 10 leaves blossoming 10 flowers, perfect and flawless. Seeing this scene, after being stunned for a moment, Yuan Zhengfeng began laughing joyfully. Within the air, the old man laughed as he headed towards the infinite unknown. While his life and death were uncertain, his attitude was carefree. To be continued. Chapter 485. Yen Zhaoge lowered his head to look at Fang Juan, whose skin was pale as paper, as though he was in deep slumber, before looking at the black hole once more. The lofty prestige mirror's light was gradually losing its grip on the black hole. Having lost the intentional effect of Yuan Zhengfeng and Fang Juan, the entrance to the black hole gradually began to close. The endless space-time turbulence presented a chaotic scene. Yuan Zhengfeng's figure gradually moved further and further away, disappearing within it. The old man wasn't tall and was even a little thin. He had always been towering and majestic, and at this moment, it was as if he was the center of the world. Standing within the air, Yen Zhaoge lifted Fang Juan's body with his true essence, bowing solemnly towards the vanished Yuan Zhengfeng and the black hole. Maintaining his bowing posture for a long time, Yen Zhaoge said softly, "Grandmaster, please take care. We will definitely meet again." With a swipe of his palm, his true essence surged, enveloping the faint mist of blood remaining on Fang Juan's body before collecting it. Yen Zhaoge sucked in a deep breath, looking at his second apprentice uncle once more. Probing with his true essence, Yen Zhaoge could feel that Fang Juan's situation was indeed extremely terrible. Sacrificing his own essence blood and will to form a sword had caused Fang Juan to suffer a great blow to his vitality, almost causing him to perish. Yuan Zhengfeng's words were not wrong. Even if he was not devoured by the black hole, the current Fang Juan could still perish at any time. The reason why Yuan Zhengfeng had gone all out in sending Fang Juan out was actually because he had held on to the slightest hope that Yen Zhaoge and the others would be able to save Fang Juan. They especially hoped that Yen Zhaoge, who was currently present, would be able to save them at the first possible moment. Yen Zhaoge did not disappoint Yuan Zhengfeng as he retrieved 6 long, thin golden needles from his shadow-shrinking pouch, wielding them like the wind as they quickly landed on 6 of Fang Juan's major acupoints. Then his true essence poured unceasingly into Fang Juan's body. The true essence of Yen Zhaoge's entire body was currently extremely abundant, just that it had yet to be refined. At this moment, using it to stabilize Fang Juan's condition was naturally not a problem. At the same time, another 9 golden needles landed on Yen Zhaoge's body. Yen Zhaoge once more applied the needles, leaving them on Fang Juan's body, not removing them. Finally, Yen Zhaoge brought his palms together, the clear qi robe enveloping Fang Juan's body once more. A golden thread extended from each of the 15 golden needles, connecting with the clear qi robe, guiding the streams of clear qi of the clear qi robe to augment Fang Juan's body. Yen Zhaoge observed carefully, only letting out a sigh of relief when he saw that some color had finally returned to his second apprentice uncle's pale face. For the time being, his condition has been stabilized and will not worsen. However, A long period of recuperation is still required before he can awaken. He cannot do without the protection of the clear Qi robe, requiring this sacred artifact to constantly watch over second apprentice uncle. Yan Zhaoge let out a long breath, the spiritual light behind his head vanishing. He looked at the surroundings of the abyss. Although the black fog still lingered, it had already returned to its original state. Even though it was still a land of death, the 9 underworld's baleful qi and terrifying devilish qi had finally become much fainter. He lowered his head and looked down. After the huge golden talisman had sealed the door of the 9 underworlds once again, it had already gradually disappeared and was once again hidden in the black fog. The blood-soaked battle between him and his grandmaster and the others had not been in vain. Barring any major accidents, this seal would last for a very long time. Thinking of this, Yan Zhaoge knit his brows slightly, swiveling his head to look at that great golden seal amid space. Not to mention the fact that the seal had been used to seal the 9 Serenities Gate for so many years without being broken, the original owner of the seal had left behind a fist avatar that had actually resealed the 9 Serenities Gate in this place. While it was far from being able to stand against the entire 9 underworlds and the numerous evil devils within, the door of the 9 underworlds here was an actual dimensional passageway. A fist-intent incarnation that had remained for so many years had directly sealed the dimensional passageway between the 2 worlds. What level had the cultivation base of the original owner of the great golden seal been at? Logically speaking, such power should not have been tolerated by the 8 extremities world. While those 2 9 underworlds true devils had gradually broken the seal earlier, rushing into the 8 extremities world after seeing them, Yan Zhaoge had been able to feel that even if they had come to the 8 extremities world in their complete form, their strength would actually still not be complete. While they would still be extremely powerful, they would be suppressed to a state equivalent to the peak of the 3rd level of the martial saint realm. Yan Zhaoge felt that the true strength of those 2 martial saints had been even greater than this. Connecting this with the message left behind by his mother, Xue Chuqing, Yan Zhaoge speculated that if one's cultivation base surpassed the 3rd level of the martial saint realm, they would likely not be able to remain in the 8 extremities world any longer. In the 8 extremities world of post-Great Calamity times, no expert of the 4th level of the martial saint realm had been confirmed to have appeared. The exalted heaven shaker Zhan Dongge, with the greatest combat strength, had perished at the 2nd level of the martial saint realm. The Purple Sun martial saint Zhang Chao with the highest cultivation base had been at the 3rd level of the martial saint realm when he had gone missing. However, according to the speculations of the other experts, the heaven diviner Zhan Shilo included, when he had last appeared in front of the world, Zhang Chao should still not have reached the peak of the 3rd level of the martial saint realm. In other words, it was still not time for him to attempt a breakthrough into the 4th level of the martial saint realm. Still, this was just the guess of others. The exact situation of the Purple Sun martial saint Zhang Chao had always been a mystery. While there were mortals who had said that the Sacred Sun Saint Zhang Chao had ascended, the Sacred Sun clan had always kept this a secret, not giving a clear explanation. Therefore, the question of whether the 4th level of the martial saint realm could remain in the 8 extremities world could not be verified now. However, after having seen the situation of those 2 true devils today, Yan Zhaoge felt that this guess was true. A fist intent that has been left behind for so many years is already able to seal the great 9 underworld's door that has truly been opened. Such power is not simple at all. How was he able to remain in the 8 extremities world back then? Yan Zhaoge gazed at that great golden seal. This thing of yours is not simple either. The eruption of the great golden seal earlier had shaken the entire 8 extremities world as if it could not be tolerated by the heavens and the earth. Yan Zhaoge would not overlook this, and the power of that eruption had still been far from the limits of this treasure. It had been able to remain in the eight extremities world precisely because it was in a slumbering state, its power never fully unleashed. Yen Zhaoge had still seen such an existence in the current eight extremities world, just that there had only been one of them, the Extreme Yin Crown. While this sacred artifact looked mighty as it possessed great power when wielded by a maiden of extreme Yin of the martial scholar realm, the Extreme Yin Crown was actually in a slumbering state as well. Stimulated by Meng Wan and the others, it was like opening its eyes slightly in its sleep, as it could not even be considered a lazy stretch. After all, Meng Wan and the others' cultivation levels were still low. Extreme Yin Crown. Yen Zhaoge narrowed his eyes into slits. Extreme Yang Seal. Just now, as Yen Zhaoge had circulated his profound art, executing the extreme Yang scripture that he was still not proficient in and communicating with that fist intent incarnation, in that instant when the great golden seal had been unleashed, a bizarre scene had suddenly appeared within his mind. Colorful illusions of light and shadow finally condensed into a consciousness. Sacred artifact, Extreme Yang Seal. What Yen Zhaoge took note of was that amongst those numerous scenes of light, a female figure actually appeared within one of them. His entire body was shrouded in clear light, and he wore the supreme Yin crown on his head. When Yen Zhaoge had been refining the pillar of the divine palace, he had viewed the past memories of the pillar of the divine palace. The woman he had seen appeared here once more. To be continued. Mo Xian. Small. Talk. Net. Chapter 486. Within the image, that woman suddenly appeared before the Extreme Yang Seal. She seemed completely unafraid of the radiance and heat of the sun as she walked neither hurriedly nor slowly on the surface of the sun. The extreme Yin crown on her head emitted streams of clear radiance, the moonlight resembling water. As it came into contact with the radiance of the extreme Yin crown, the Extreme Yang Seal seemed to be affected slightly. That woman's gaze was condensed to the point of being tangible as two streaks of light shot out from her eyes, landing on the Extreme Yang Seal. The Extreme Yang Seal suddenly shook. Then, all-encompassing radiance condensed as the true martial intent of the Extreme Yang Seal's original owner that was concealed within the sacred artifact appeared. Looking at the figure condensed of sunlight, the woman was silent for a long time. While her face was enveloped by moonlight and her features could not be clearly seen, Yen Zhaoge could still vaguely feel her disappointment. Fist intent incarnation? No wonder you left the Extreme Yang Seal here. So it was to substitute it. The woman sighed, lightly. You really managed to fool many people. I wonder where you are now. Looking at the Extreme Yang Seal, she shook her head. Forget it. Since you have made such arrangements, I will not spoil your plans. The Extreme Yang Seal shall remain here, awaiting its fated person. The woman turned and left, her voice lingering in the air. I will leave the Extreme Yin Crown in this world as well. Yen Zhaoge regained his wits from his contemplation, thinking of that woman's words from earlier. There were experts who survived the great calamity. Yen Zhaoge exhaled. That woman was indeed no ordinary person. It is just that I had not thought that she would have actually come to the Earth domain before, even being an old acquaintance of the original owner of this Extreme Yang Seal. Birds of a feather flock together. Her cultivation base should not be low either. Even if it is, it should not be much lower than the original owner of this Extreme Yang Seal. She can also remain in the eight extremities world. Is it that my deduction of fourth-level martial saints being unable to exist in this world is wrong? Or is there some other reason? Or perhaps, having surpassed a certain cultivation base, one is instead no longer restricted, being able to freely enter and exit worlds like the eight extremities world. Yen Zhaoge pondered for a moment before he retracted his thoughts, gazing at the Extreme Yang seal once more. Whether it was the extreme Yang seal or the extreme Yin crown, they were both stronger than sacred artifacts like the Jade Sea Pill Heart Sword, the Great Sun Heaven Measuring Ruler, the Clear Chi Robe, and the Heaven Cleaving Axe. It was just that it was very difficult for the current people to activate the complete power within it. They could only activate a very small part of it. Yan Zhaoge enveloped Feng Zhuan with the Clear Chi Robe, then approached that great golden seal. The fist intent of the extreme Yang seal's original owner had now completely transformed into a seal, sealing the passageway between the 9 underworlds and the 8 extremities world. The extreme Yang seal could leave as well, no longer having to remain here, substituting for the peach corpse, left for the fated one. Yan Zhaoge ruminated on the meaning of those words. With that fist-intent incarnation having vanished, the substitution of the peach corpse, the operation of deceiving others has come to an end. The great 9 underworlds door has also been sealed. Therefore, the extreme Yang seal can also be taken away. At this moment, the extreme Yang seal resembled a very ordinary seal platform. It was completely crimson, resembling both copper and jade. Yan Zhaoge extended his palm, sunlight being emitted as he grasped the extreme Yang seal. The extreme Yang seal shook slightly, golden light flashing as it instantly regained its tranquility. When a maiden of extreme Yin reaches the martial scholar realm, she will be able to wield the extreme Yin crown. This extreme Yang seal, however, seems to require me to have a higher cultivation base. After frowning, Yan Zhaoge relaxed. The extreme Yin crown can only be wielded by women of the extreme Yin physique. This extreme Yang seal doesn't have any special requirements, just requiring one to cultivate in the extreme Yang scripture. Thinking of the extreme Yang scripture, Yan Zhaoge smacked his lips a little. While he had more or less completed the extreme Yang scripture through his comprehension of the concept of the extreme Yang seal, however, the extreme Yang divine canon obtained through this method only contained the true meaning of power. While it was extremely pure, it was also extremely primitive, fitting in with the great Tao of heaven and earth. He still needed some time if he wanted to make it his own and understand all the profound essence within. Like cracking a code, he was able to decipher the mysteries of the sun god's canon. Holding the extreme Yang seal, Yan Zhaoge inhaled deeply, attempting to place it within his shadow shrinking pouch. Placing it down, the extreme Yang seal actually showed no reaction at all as it just landed stably within the shadow shrinking pouch like an ordinary copper seal. The divine artifact concealed itself, falling into a state of slumber, its power completely retracted within, not leaking outwards in the slightest. Yan Zhaoge nodded slightly. Even the spirituality of the dragon corpse that had already died earlier had not been stable. Without the suppression of the pillar of the divine palace, it would have been hard to keep within the shadow shrinking pouch. A sacred artifact, like the Clear Chi Robe, was also unable to be kept within the shadow shrinking pouch. Therefore, Yan Zhaoge now had to bring Feng Zhuan and the Clear Chi Robe with him all the way out. Rising up, leaving the deep abyss, Yan Zhaoge lowered his head and looked down. The earth domain was still hell, enshrouded by chaotic streams of baleful chi as humans and beasts were hard-pressed to approach. However, it was already no longer as devilish chi that surged to the heavens, as it resembled the descent of the end of the world. The threat of the 9 underworlds had been temporarily resolved. In this human realm, there was no longer any need to worry about the 9 underworlds' evil devils flooding in and plunging life forms into misery and suffering, no longer having to worry about hell continuing to expand, turning the entire world into a land of death. However, all of this had been established on the foundation of the 8 extremities world's martial practitioners paying an immense price. His Grand Master Yuan Zhengfeng had been lost amidst the chaotic flows of space, and his second apprentice uncle Fang Zhuan had been heavily injured and on the verge of death, falling into a deep slumber. Broad Creed Mountain, the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Turbid Wave Pavilion, the Sacred Sun Clan, the numerous experts of the 4 great sacred grounds were buried here forever. Among the people who had entered the Earth domain to prevent the seal from breaking and the 9 underworlds from descending, other than Huang Guanglia and Qinglin, who had left to reinforce the Eastern Sea, and Shun Li, who had fled midway, only he and his second martial uncle had returned alive. Because it was too dangerous, the experts of the 4 great sacred grounds who had entered the Earth domain other than Yen Zhaoge were all Essence Talisman martial grandmasters. Experts of this level were all peak figures of the 8 extremities world. But now, he was in eternal slumber in the Earth domain, and even his corpse was hard to find. Yen Zhaoge's heart was heavy. Having experienced the previous great tribulation of Broad Creed Mountain, having experienced the great battle against the Flame Devils on the East Sea, his Broad Creed Mountain martial practitioners had already suffered a great blow to their vitality. Having entered the Earth domain this time, their longtime elders had been completely annihilated, causing all of Broad Creed Mountain to be greatly pained. Currently, other than the various first seat elders of Broad Creed Mountain, the other longtime elders of the clan were virtually all dead. Such a great loss was something that Broad Creed Mountain would not be able to make up for within a period of time. The other 3 clans, other than Turbid Wave Pavilion, were all in roughly the same situation. Yen Zhaoge left the deep abyss, arriving at the borders of the Earth domain. There, Ahu and some people of the clan were currently anxiously awaiting news. Seeing that the abnormalities in the Earth domain had vanished, they had been rejoicing. Seeing Yen Zhaoge and hearing the general situation of the matter, their moods had all sunk. That old baldy Shun Li. Hearing that Shun Li had fled midway, Ahu let loose a torrent of abuse. Yen Zhaoge's gaze was cold. There will be a time to settle the score with him. He looked at Ahu. How is the East Sea? Awakening, Ahu hurriedly said, Young master, family head has left seclusion, having transcended mortality and entered sainthood. Hearing his words, Yen Zhaoge's spirits rose greatly. Amidst the good news, Ahu hurriedly told Yen Zhaoge of what he currently knew. Family head and the others are currently locked in a stalemate with the Flame Devils near the entrance of the dimensional passageway. Locked in a stalemate? Yen Zhaoge pondered for a moment before saying, I will go to the East Sea. You guys escort second apprentice uncle back to the mountain. After giving some instructions, Yen Zhaoge immediately left for the East Sea. To be continued. Chapter 487. The East Sea was still filled with smoke. At the entrance of the dimensional passageway leading to the Flame Devil Great World, the experts of the human race and the experts of the Flame Devil Great World were engaged in a heated battle. With the great Flame Devil King at their head, the numerous Flame Devil experts gathered, guarding the entrance of the dimensional passageway to the death. In the vicinity of the entrance of the passageway, the heavens and the earth were all enveloped beneath white light. Yen Di, Old Man Mo, Huang Guanglia, and Song Wuliang, the 4 great experts of the human race, wielded the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation together, their attacks pressuring towards the Flame Devils with a momentum that could topple mountains and overturn seas, wanting to repel them along with the corrosive power of the Flame Devil world. Wielding the Extreme Yin Crown, Mengwan and Turbid Wave Pavilion's Pavilion Lord and Qinglin also relied on the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation to assist them in attacking the Flame Devils together. Other areas of the Outer East Sea were also engaged in fierce battles. The other human martial practitioners on Verdant Pill Island, the descendants of the Art Saints lineage included, slaughtered those Flame Devils who had not been able to follow the Flame Devil Kings back to the dimensional passageway entrance in time. Amongst these flame devils who had invaded the Eight Extremities world, there were many experts like the great flame devils whose ferocity was stimulated as they engaged in a bloody battle with the human martial practitioners on the spot. A bright sword light flashed across the sky, slaying a flame devil. The sword light disappeared, and a woman appeared. She had a beautiful face and a sharp temperament. Lowering her head, she saw two figures on the surface of the sea killing some lower-level flame devils as well. Seeing this, the woman nodded slightly. Yunsheng, Luhua. The two figures on the surface of the sea were precisely Broad Creed Mountain's two maidens of extreme Yin, Feng Yunsheng and Yin Luhua. They simultaneously bowed towards the woman in the air. Master! Fu Enshu descended, looking at Yin Luhua. Luhua, are you sure that the person you met was the Sacred Sun Clan's Huang Jia? Yin Luhua answered, This disciple has only seen images of him before. Seeing him from afar this time, after feeling that he seemed to be the world-illuminating young master, this disciple hurriedly avoided him. Still, I should not be mistaken. She was a little perturbed. Master, we are very far away from each other, and he didn't look at me. It should be okay, right? Hearing her words, Fu Enshu pondered for a moment before saying to Yin Luhua, Normally speaking, you, Luhua, should not have been exposed to the eyes of the other sacred grounds, as you should not have been recognized. But it's better to be careful. Don't act alone from now on. Yin Luhua hurriedly replied, Yes, master. Fu Enshu nodded, considering whether she should first send Feng Yunsheng and Yin Luhua back to the clan. Just as he was pondering, waves of fire surged before him, and yet another flame demon attacked him. Fu Enshu could only suppress her thoughts and deal with the enemy in front of her. The experts of the flame devils had been intercepted by her. Some of the flame devils with lower cultivation bases, equivalent to human martial scholars, had slipped through the net as Feng Yunsheng and Yin Luhua went up to receive them. Fu Enshu took a closer look and could not help but frown. After dealing with the flame devil in front of her, Fu Enshu said, Luhua, you still have to put in more effort in your usual cultivation. Yin Luhua muttered, Yes, master. When Feng Yunsheng saw this, she sighed and sent a voice transmission to Fu Enshu, Master, give junior sister Yin some more time. Fu Enshu glanced at her. The homework that has been given to her is already much lower than your standards, yet she is still slacking off. I can finally tell that this child is like a spinning top, only willing to move after being whipped. If I give her too much homework, she will only be able to complete 70 or 80% of it with all her might. If I give her less homework, she instead slacks off, still only completing 80% of it. If I keep a closer eye on her, she will still work a little harder. However, after just 2 days, she will revert to her old ways. Does she think that I can't tell? As Fu Enshu spoke, she felt a little angry. Returning to the clan this time, we will have to raise her homework. That way, she will be able to put in more effort. Feng Yunsheng hesitated for a moment before saying, Master! As soon as junior apprentice sister Yin entered the clan, she was raised as a maiden of extreme Yin with the requirement that she improve by leaps and bounds within a short period of time, catching up to me and Meng Wan. However, none of us have asked her what her own expectations and goals are. Feng Yunsheng's cultivation base and strength far surpassed Yin Luhua's, while Yin Luhua had currently not displayed any potential to threaten Feng Yunsheng at all. Therefore, Feng Yunsheng's words did not cause Fu Enshu to think otherwise. Fu Enshu furrowed her brows. Her problem lies in her love of ease and abhorrence of work. She usually does not put her heart and soul into her training. Even if she is not a maiden of extreme Yin, as a martial artist, she is still unqualified. Feng Yunsheng sighed. Fu Enshu snorted. Lu Hua is a solitary practitioner. Solitary practitioners have few resources and are in great danger. They have to rely on themselves to fight for opportunities. Generally speaking, their sense of danger and desire to improve themselves are even stronger than disciples from large sects. As she spoke, Yen Zhaoga's words suddenly flashed through her mind. Maybe junior apprentice sister Yin just wants to live a little easier. Fu Enshu knit her brows, pondering as she swiveled her head to look at Yin Luhua by the side. As the two had been conversing via sound transmission earlier, Yin Luhua, who had not heard the contents of their conversation, could not help but be at a loss as she met Fu Enshu's gaze now. "Master!" Fu Enshu was silent for a long time before she finally sighed softly, her gaze that was on Yin Luhua gradually turning gentle. Seeing her master's benevolent expression, Yin Luhua relaxed greatly. She was vaguely worried that Fu Enshu might be completely disappointed in her. Of the disciples of the same generation in the clan, she was one of the few who received the best treatment, even far surpassing that of the other core, direct disciples like Su Fei and Lu Wen. Who else would receive the same treatment as her? Yen Zhaoga, publicly acknowledged as the number one of the 8 extremities world's younger generation. Accurately speaking, Yen Zhaoga was already no longer receiving the clan's resources. Instead, he himself had become one of the people distributing the resources, no longer being the same as Yin Luhua and the others. Feng Yinsheng, the reason did not need to be stated. Ing Longtu, breaking Yendi's record as the youngest martial scholar of the 8 extremities world of post-Great Calamity times. Currently 15 years old, he was already at the late outer aura stage, virtually destined to break Yendi's record as the youngest martial grandmaster as well. Other than that, there was nothing else. Si Kongqing, who was under the same master as Yin Luhua, her martial potential and diligence far surpassed Yin Liuhua's. However, in terms of resources and treatment, she was also inferior to Yin Luhua. Yin Luhua was well aware that this had never been because of her outstanding performance or any great contributions to the clan. It was only because she possessed a unique extreme Yin physique. It was because of this that she had been able to enjoy the best resources and treatment whilst living more and more comfortably till now. If the clan no longer continued to groom her as a maiden of extreme Yin, first, not mentioning whether or not she would be able to maintain her status as a core, direct disciple of Broad Creed Mountain, her resources in various areas would definitely plummet. Yin Luhua had still had some thoughts of chasing after Feng Yinsheng and vying for the extreme Yin crown when she had just entered the clan. However, such thoughts had long since faded away. To her, that was no longer a goal. Instead, it was a tool that allowed her to obtain the excellent living environment and treatment she currently enjoyed, while having a strict master who was constantly nagging and nitpicking at her was not a good thing. However, due to the many conveniences brought about by the extreme Yin bout and her extreme Yin physique, she was incomparably satisfied, as she found it hard to part with them. In terms of martial talent, she could still be considered outstanding. However, with her lazy personality, it was inevitable that she would be a little wasted. While she was not outstanding amongst the core, direct disciples like this, she was also not at the bottom. A large part of this was because of the abundant resources of the clan. Just thinking about how her future days would be after leaving all of this, Yin Luhua felt flustered. Now, seeing Fu Enshu's gentle expression, Yin Luhua secretly heaved a sigh of relief. This time, I should have passed. Chapter 488. Yin Luhua was currently feeling rather relaxed when Fu Enshu sighed. Teaching in accordance with one's aptitude is easier said than done. Even if your master and the clan give you time, the other maidens of extreme Yin of other clans will not. This burden may indeed be too heavy for the current you. Speaking of which, core, Direct disciples also have a portion of the right to choose their masters. However, because of your uniqueness, I have directly arranged for you to come under my tutelage. I am too impatient. Perhaps it would instead be more beneficial for your growth if you were to come under someone else's tutelage. Bearing the heavy burden of competing for the extreme Een crown and taking me as your master are all things that we have placed on you. We only hope that your talent will not be wasted, yet we have neglected some other issues, neglecting your feelings. Fu Enshu spoke emotionally, her tone gentle. Hearing her words, however, Een Luhua felt her heart palpitate. She hurriedly said, "Master, this disciple is slow and has disappointed you. This disciple will definitely cultivate diligently." Her cultivation base being much higher than Een Liuhua's, Fu Enshu could see Een Liuhua's body's condition as clearly as the back of her hand. Fairly speaking, while she had been rather lazy when she had just entered the clan, she had actually been rather steady. However, as time passed, she had become increasingly lazy. Still, Fu Enshu's mood was much calmer now as she just said, "You should really put your heart into it. If you are too lazy, not only will it affect your cultivation as a maiden of extreme Een, it will also be very difficult for you to reach the peak in your future path as a martial practitioner. It is not just for maidens of extreme Een. Laziness is a great taboo for every martial practitioner." Looking at Een Luhua, Fu Enshu sighed. "Luhua, you are not a mediocre person. Your talent is really not bad. If you call yourself slow-witted, most people beneath the heavens would be fools." However, even Han Long, Er's talent would not be able to withstand endless squandering. Looking at Een Luhua, she said, "Having been under Master's tutelage for some time, you should know that I am a straightforward person. What I said just now was all based on my feelings. I might indeed have been inappropriate in teaching you. You are slow and lazy, clashing with the pressing situation of the extreme Een bout. This conflict is very hard to resolve." Greatly shocked, Een Luhua composed herself before hurriedly saying, "Please don't say that, Master. This disciple was too lazy earlier. This disciple will definitely correct herself." Her tone was sincere. "Ever since I entered the sect, Master has treated me well, and I will always remember it in my heart. Being able to become your disciple is the greatest blessing and fortune of my life. When I cultivate, I often remind myself that I have to cultivate seriously. However, once my body gets tired, my willpower becomes unstable, and I am unable to persevere. Master, please give Luhua a few more chances. Luhua will definitely train well." Fu Enshu frowned slightly. "Luhua, do not let your imagination run wild. Even though I have been strict with you, but what I said just now all came from the bottom of my heart. I am not being sarcastic and forcing you to take a stand. There is no disciple of mine, Fu Enshu, who is useless. I am eager to be strong and impatient. These are all true, but since haste makes no good steel, I also have enough patience and time to slowly polish you into something useful." Een Luhua directly knelt down towards Fu Enshu. How can this disciple not feel Master's utter sincerity? This disciple is also sincerely repentant. Please, Master, give this disciple a chance. Fu Enshu sighed. The cultivation of you maidens of extreme Een is not even sufficient to describe how intense it is. There really isn't much time left for us. These past years, as the cultivation bases of Mengwan, Fanxiu, and the others rose higher and higher, the power that the extreme Een crown can wield has always been gradually increasing. Currently, all the maidens of extreme Een are still at the martial scholar realm. However, if someone attains the martial grandmaster realm, the power unleashed by the extreme Een crown will be completely different. Een Luhua said softly, "Master, didn't you say earlier that after Chief transcended mortality and entered sainthood, he surpassed many seniors, already being the #1 person in this world. There is also Grand Master. Our clan's current strength is already fully deserving of being the #1 of the 8 extremities sex. Since that is so, what is the point of competing in the extreme bout? Our clan can directly wrest the extreme crown from the hands of the Sacred Sun clan. Fu Enshu said, that is indeed the truth. However, in planning for the future, we cannot just look at the advantageous side. First, not speaking of how forcefully occupying the extreme crown would easily incur the wrath of all the sacred grounds, junior apprentice brother Yen having transcended mortality and entered sainthood, while his strength far surpasses those of the same generation, already stably surpassing the Sacred Sun clans, Huang Guanglia. The Sacred Sun clan might not just have Huang Guanglia. The Purple Sun Marshal Saint Zhang Chao. Let alone you, even I, your master, am already rather unfamiliar with this name. However, no one knows exactly what situation this person is currently in or where he is. These past years, even when the Sacred Sun clan has suffered some losses, he has not appeared. However, it might not really be that he is no longer in the 8 extremities world. While her personality was unyielding, Fu Enshu was not a reckless person. Purple Sunjong was an expert of the 3rd level of the Martial Saint realm that year. So many years have passed. His current strength is hard to predict. Perhaps the possibility of him still being in this world is very small. However, when it truly comes to a life and death battle with the Sacred Sun clan, our clan has no choice but to guard against this. Fu Enshu's gaze swept across Feng Yunsheng and Yin Lu Hua. At such a time, if a maiden of Extreme steps into the martial grandmaster realm and wields the Extreme crown, it is very likely that the overall situation will be decided. Yin Lu Hua lowered her head. She was still very far away from the martial grandmaster realm. Looking at Yin Lu Hua, Fu Enshu said in a gentle tone, Lu Hua, you started off late. However, this does not mean that the contest for the Extreme crown is unrelated to you. Your senior apprentice sister Feng and the Sacred Sun clan's Meng Wan were both injured before the Extreme bout that year, affecting their competition. And when wielding the Extreme crown in battle, the Maiden of Extreme similarly has the possibility of being injured. If our clan really obtains the Extreme crown and Yunsheng is injured in battle, we will need you to wield the Extreme crown then. This was precisely the reason why, whether it was the Sacred Sun clan or Broad Creed Mountain or the other clans, all of them strove to groom more than one maiden of Extreme as much as possible, sparing no resources. The so-called double insurance wasn't just limited to the Extreme bout. Fu Enshu said earnestly, with a clan having 2 maidens of Extreme, while there would naturally be internal competition, with the most outstanding one being able to win back the Extreme crown for the clan, your true opponents would forever be the maidens of Extreme of the other sacred grounds. Yin Lu Hua said in a low voice, this disciple will definitely do her best, going all out to overcome her own inadequacies. Looking at Yin Lu Hua, Fu Enshu sighed softly, nodding, Lu Hua, the strong are aided by the heavens. If you work hard, in the long run, the one who ultimately benefits will still be you. Yin Lu Hua hurriedly bowed. Yes, master, this disciple understands. She lowered her head and heaved a sigh of relief. I've finally passed today, but what about the future? As she thought of this, a myriad of emotions surged in her heart. I started late in the first place, and senior apprentice brother Yen is biased towards senior apprentice sister Feng, intentionally keeping the secret arts to himself and not imparting them to me. This way, senior apprentice sister Feng can complete those assignments, but I can't, and it will always seem like I'm not doing my best. No matter how hard I try, it will be useless. Master will never be satisfied, losing patience with me one day. As she thought about this, Yin Lu Hua could only feel incomparably vexed, What exactly should I do? Chapter 489. While Yin Luhua was troubled, she did not dare to show it on her face. Looking at Feng Yunsheng and Yin Luhua, Fu Enshu pondered whether she should first send them back to the clan. But at this moment, intense energy fluctuations suddenly emanated from the sea, where the dimensional passageway leading to the flame demon Great World was located. Fu Enshu's gaze froze. She saw waves of fire rolling over from the horizon, instantly engulfing the world. She hurriedly protected her 2 disciples. Wherever the waves of fire swept through, the fire pith vein in the depths of the sea seemed to vibrate along with it. Streams of fire gushed out and exploded through the deep sea, turning into thick pillars of fire that shot towards the sky. Fu Enshu was shocked at first, but after carefully sensing it, she calmed down. The earth vein had only been shaken by the fire chi of the flame devils, and it had not changed on its own during the great battle of the East Sea. However, this chaos was similarly violent and long-lasting, and it nearly affected the entire outer East Sea. And the surging waves of fire that had caused this chaos were similarly ferocious, causing Fu Enshu to be alarmed upon seeing it. Is the flame demons fighting like cornered beasts, fighting with their lives on the line? Thinking thus, Fu Enshu hurriedly brought Feng Yunsheng and Yin Luhua along as they traversed the sea of flames, avoiding the fierce flames. Now that the ground was full of fire, they could only pick the places where the fire was weaker, but for the time being, they could not send the 2 disciples out of the East Sea. Due to the change in the terrain, the rampaging of the flame devils in the East Sea, especially in the outer East Sea, had reignited a little. In such an environment, the flame demons' combat strength increased, and the injured flame demons' injuries were even gradually recovering. They seized the opportunity to launch a wave of counterattacks. Fortunately, most of the human martial practitioners did not panic in the face of danger. Although they were attacked by the blazing flames, they still stabilized their footing, beating back the momentum of the flame devil's counterattack. Fu Enshu was also patiently traversing through the sea of fire, ensuring the safety of the master and disciples, and at the same time defending against the attacks of the flame demons. The chaos this time was different from when the flame devils had invaded and boiled the East Sea and caused the earth veins to change. If the problem with the earth veins wasn't resolved, the anomaly at that time would continue. This time, as long as they could hold on for a period of time, the chaos would gradually subside. Fu Enshu gazed towards the region of sea, where the entrance of the dimensional passageway was located. She was currently more concerned about the battle situation there. After all, it was there that would determine the direction of the battle over at the East Sea, as well as the future fate of the 8 Extremities world. At this moment, it was a tragic scene. Boundless white light shone intensely, covering the sky. Below them was a crimson world that was constantly trembling under the pressure of the white light. The surging waves of fire were forced to scatter in all directions. At the center of the world formed by raging flames was the entrance to the Flame Devil Great World. At this moment, the entrance was constantly spewing lava and raging flames. The lower half of the Great Flame Devil King's body had completely merged within the sea of flames, with only the upper half of its body exposed outside. Terrifying devilish fire flickered unceasingly on its massive bull head and 2 tiger claws. The other Flame Devil Kings mostly surrounded this Great Flame Devil King, as well, similarly having the lower half of their bodies merged into the sea of flames. The group of flame devils continuously let out wild roars. Amidst their roars, the flames that filled the sky condensed into scarlet runes one after another. Countless scarlet runes formed a screen of light that covered the sky and blocked the white light from above. Within the white light, the human experts with Yen Di at their head similarly mustered their remaining courage, continuing to attack the flame devils down below. Under the operation of the Tai Imperial Breaking Array, The flames were fixed in place by the white light and dissolved into nothingness. Meanwhile, the attacks of the human experts descended like a torrential rain, mightily striking that crimson screen of light, causing it to shudder like ripples on water. The crimson screen of light shattered one after another, numerous runes replenishing it as it recovered. The two sides did not give in to each other, fighting for every inch of territory in the surrounding heavens and earth, even as the other human martial practitioners dealt with the flame devils before them. Most of them were also paying attention to the battle situation here. More than 10 great golden suns rose into the sky, their dazzling sunlight illuminating the nearby crimson sea of flames into pure gold. The group of Sacred Sun Clan martial practitioners moved together, slaying a few great flame devils that were attempting to head towards the dimensional passageway entrance. The one at their head was shockingly the current chief of the Sacred Sun Clan, Huang Su. With the simultaneous changes occurring in the East Sea and the Earth domain, the simultaneous assault of the Flame Devils and the 9 underworlds, the 8 extremities world facing an unprecedented crisis, the peak experts of the various sacred grounds were mostly unable to sit still as they respectively hurried to the East Sea and the Earth domain to participate in the battle. After slaying the great Flame Devils before him, Huang Su gazed towards that world of white light that enveloped the sky. What exactly is the situation over at the Earth domain now? Huang Su asked as he gazed into the distance, not shifting for even a moment. A longtime elder of the Sacred Sun Clan beside him answered in a heavy tone, "The specific situation is unknown. Up till now, none of the elders of my Sacred Sun Clan who entered the deep abyss of the Earth domain have returned. The situation of Broad Creed Mountain and the other sects is unclear as well. However, observing from the outskirts of the Earth domain, the abnormalities in the Earth domain earlier seem to have already calmed, the baleful qi gradually weakening, returning to its previous normal level. The various demonic beasts that fled from the Earth domain also seem to be showing signs of returning. We are already preparing to send people into the depths of the Earth domain to observe the specific situation there." Listening silently, Huang Su pondered for a moment before saying, "From the looks of it, no matter what, there is temporarily no need to worry about the Earth domain." He gazed at the entrance of the dimensional passageway. "The crux now lies here." Huang Su swiveled his head to look behind him. "Make another divine lamp. While your grandfather already has won, this will be the decisive battle now." Behind him stood a youth who seemed ordinary and unremarkable, his existence easily overlooked, resembling a shadow beneath the sunlight. It was precisely Huang Su's son, the world-illuminating young master, Huang Jie. Huang Jie nodded calmly. "My intentions exactly." A streak of light extended from the fingers of his right hand, resembling a sharp blade, as he lightly sliced the vein on his left wrist. Fresh blood spurted out, the streak of light on Huang Jie's fingertip abruptly growing thicker, transforming into a pillar of light that enveloped his entire body. Within the pillar of light, the crimson fresh blood turned a pure golden luster before actually gradually condensing into a golden lamp. Huang Jie's skin turned pale, the light in his eyes dimming as his entire person appeared extremely dispirited. However, his expression was calm as he sighed lightly with his finger, the golden lamp drifting through the air towards his father, Huang Su. Huang Su's expression was solemn as he kept the golden lamp carefully. Huang Jie said mildly, "With the current chaotic situation, there are many things that can be done. Let's not waste this chance. Still, we cannot blindly be greedy." Huang Su said, "The other matters will be left to you. I believe that you will be able to grasp them well." Huang Jie nodded slightly, bowing towards the higher echelon experts of the Sacred Sun Clan beside him. "I will be troubling you." Those experts nodded towards Huang Su before bringing Huang Jie along as they left. Huang Su and the others stared at the distant world of white light. There, the experts of the human race and the experts of the flame devil race were engaged in a great battle, growing more and more tragic as time passed. Yan Zhaoge, on the other hand, had traversed numerous layers of flames with great difficulty, finally arriving here. Father should have brought the thing over. Gazing in the direction of the dimensional passageway, Yan Zhaoge muttered to himself. To be continued. Chapter 490. Gazing into the distance, Yan Zhaoge pondered as he approached the dimensional passageway. Many of the Saint Plane powerhouses pushed their power to the extreme, setting off an incomparable battle. Just the aftermath alone was enough to make the great Grandmaster powerhouses unable to withstand it, and they didn't dare to approach. Now that Yan Zhaoge had suddenly appeared and approached the center of the battlefield, the surrounding human experts could not help but stare at him. Yan Zhaoge also felt that with his current cultivation base, it would be hard for him to withstand the surging waves of fire. Almost in an instant, his body seemed to be on the verge of burning and being annihilated. Yan Zhaoge's expression was calm as his hands simultaneously moved forward, drawing numerous strange patterns in the air. The pattern flashed with white light, transforming into a white line that streaked across the horizon, falling into the world of white light formed by the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation. A white pillar of light instantly descended from the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation, enveloping Yan Zhaoge before guiding him into the formation. Only now did the numerous experts of the Outer East Sea recall that Yan Di had once said that this powerful battle formation, which had shocked the entire Eight Extremities world, had been unearthed by Yan Zhaoge. Entering the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation, Yan Zhaoge saw his father, Old Man Mo, Huang Guanglia, and Song Wuliang stably guarding the core of the formation, controlling the Grand Formation. Within the formation were also Turbid Wave Pavilion's Pavilion Lord and Qinglin, as well as Meng Wan, who wore the Extreme Yin crown. Infinite Boundless Mountains Chief Chu Yen was heavily injured and on the verge of death, his sacred artifact, the Heaven-Cleaving Axe, also having been heavily damaged. Chu Yen had already been escorted back to the mountain domain by Infinite Boundless Mountain Martial practitioners earlier, while the Heaven-Cleaving Axe had been left behind, wielded by an Infinite Boundless Mountain expert. It had not entered the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation. This rather heavily damaged sacred artifact was currently left outside the formation, guarding the core, and assisting the other human martial practitioners in exterminating the flame devils that had invaded from the East Sea. Seeing the Extreme Yin crown, Yan Zhaoge's expression did not change, but his heart jolted slightly. He could sense that the extreme Yang seal that had remained in a slumbering state ever since he had obtained it and remained completely unmoving actually trembled slightly at this moment. From this sacred weapon, there was a clear human-like emotion, as if an old friend had reunited. Wielding the Extreme Yin crown, the gaze of Meng Wan similarly flickered, as she seemed to feel an unusual disturbance emanating from the Extreme Yin crown. Still, such a tremor only lasted for an instant as the Extreme Yang seal quickly fell silent once more, so calm that it seemed like everything that had just happened had been an illusion. Yan Zhaoge reined in his thoughts, first focusing on what lay before him. Seeing Yan Zhaoge, Yan Di ignored the joy of meeting father and son as he asked, "Zhaoge, how is the situation over at the Earth Domain?" "The Earth Domain is no longer in danger. The abnormalities have subsided, and the invasion of the 9 underworlds has been suppressed and sealed once again. There will be no worries for a short period of time," Yan Zhaoge quickly said. "It is just that the senior martial practitioners of the various sects have suffered tragic casualties, and the losses of our 8 Extremities world have been great as well." As Yan Zhaoge said this, a cold light surfaced within his eyes. The Lord of the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Shun Li, fleeing in the face of battle. Yan Di and the others first heaved a sigh of relief before their hearts tightened. Yan Zhaoge did not mention how Yuan Zhengfeng was doing. Still, observing Yan Zhaoge's expression, Yan Di and the others could basically guess that Yuan Zhengfeng's life should be fine at the very least. However, Yuan Zhengfeng didn't rush to the East Sea's aid even though the Earth domain disaster was quelled. This meant that his situation wasn't optimistic either. Xin Li similarly did not rush to the Eastern Sea, which inevitably caused everyone to feel depressed. The current battle with the Flame Devils had reached a critical juncture. If Yuan Zhengfeng and Xin Li could rush over and participate in the battle, the human race would be able to firmly secure victory. Yan Zhaoge looked at Yan Di. "Father, congratulations on transcending mortality and entering sainthood, stepping into the martial saint realm." The youngest martial saint of the Eight Extremities world in post-Great Calamity times was also the strongest martial saint of the same cultivation level. It's just another new beginning. Yan Di wielded a saber in his right hand, his saber rampaging as he attacked towards the flame devils down below. He raised his left hand lightly, a crimson pagoda with blue dragon patterns on it appearing before him as he sent a sound transmission to Yan Zhaoge, being able to emerge from seclusion so quickly. This treasure's contribution cannot go unnoticed. I hope that it can perform another miraculous feat now. Looking at that crimson pagoda, Yan Zhaoge could not help but smile. You indeed brought this thing along. Grand Master is fine, but having fallen into chaotic space, it is unknown which world he has gone to. Second apprentice uncle is heavily injured, but fortunately protected by the clear chi robe. His life is not in danger. As Yan Zhaoge flew towards the crimson pagoda, he briefly explained the situation to Yan Di via sound transmission. Landing on the crimson pagoda, Yan Zhaoge clapped his hands together on its top, numerous red chains instantly appearing on the crimson pagoda. Yan Di and the others circulated the grand formation, numerous chains of white light extending from within, corresponding to each other as they entangled with the red chains. Yan Zhaoge narrowed his eyes, taking out a dark red ring. This ring was clapped onto the top of the crimson pagoda by him, blazing flames instantly blazing within the Tai Imperial breaking formation. The gazes of Yan Di and the others flickered, but they did not stop him. Meanwhile, the flame devils down below suddenly fell simultaneously silent, their violent roars abruptly halting for an instant. The next moment, an even crazier roar resounded. That great flame devil king included. All the flame devil experts seemed to have gone berserk as they charged towards the Tai Imperial breaking formation up above. The flame devil world, on the other side of the dimensional passageway, also seemed to have turned into a living being at this moment, becoming even more violent and violent. Yan Zhaoge's expression was stern as he clapped his palms together. Once more, that crimson pagoda transforming into a streak of crimson flames, smashing downwards. Guided by the numerous red and white chains, the massive world of white light formed of the Tai Imperial breaking formation descended downwards as well. All of a sudden, the skies seemed to have been drawn together, even space and time distorting and folding unceasingly. Seeing the pagoda with the dark red ring embedded within it descending, the flame devils did not even have time to rejoice when they discovered that with that ring as their center and the pagoda as their crux, the earth veins of the entire outer East Sea were flowing in reverse. The footsteps of the flame devil world that had originally been unceasingly invading the Eight Extremities world were forcibly cut off. The sky above smashed downwards, the sea and the earth below wanting to overturn together. The entire Eight Extremities world seemed to move at this moment, forming a massive, distorting force that strongly repelled the Flame Devil world and the Flame Devil experts. The power of the Tai Imperial breaking formation was also unleashed to the maximum at this moment, countless streams of light intermingling between the heavens and the earth, imprisoning and slaying the Flame Devils together with the chaotic space, sweeping away the devilish fire. In an instant, the scales of victory and defeat were tipped in favor of the human race martial artists. Now, the power of the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation was condensed and concentrated like never before, forming a massive repulsive force. Meng Wan, the Extreme Yin Crown, and Qinglin were all flung out of the formation. Yan Zhaoge and the other four continued to wield the Grand Formation, borrowing the power of the heavens and the earth to suppress the flame devils. Having been warned by Yan Zhaoge beforehand, Meng Wan and the others were not surprised by this, as they just gazed at that descending world of white light from the outside, anticipating their final victory. The other human martial practitioners were all in high spirits as well. Similarly focused on this scene, Huang Su said in a low tone, "It's time." At the same time, within the Grand Formation, Huang Guanglia's expression did not change as his movements were composed. He suddenly spread his hand, a golden lamp lighting up. To be continued. Chapter 491. The Tai Imperial Breaking Formation circulated to the maximum, projecting the profound variations between movement and stillness, turning extreme movement into extreme stillness. Beneath this extreme stillness, even the Flame Devil Kings, supported by the power of the Flame Devil world, would gradually lose their vitality. Other than that, drawing on the massive power of the heavens and the earth with the help of the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation, the powerful force would even pour into the Flame Devil world, causing an unprecedented counterattack by the human martial practitioners. If this succeeded, even if they could not destroy the Flame Devil world, it would greatly weaken the pure flame chi and destructive aura within. This way, the Flame Devils would not be able to cause any trouble for a very long period of time at least. However, this required the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation to be maintained at the dimensional passageway entrance for a rather long time, forming a powerful sealing effect. Yan Di and the other three, who were in charge of the formation, would also be temporarily sealed, unable to extricate themselves for many years to come. As compared to the results, such a method would bring the least losses to the Eight Extremities world. While the four of them were temporarily sealed, they would slowly whittle down the numerous Flame Devil experts bit by bit, leaving them with no ability to retaliate with their lives on the line, reducing the danger greatly. The human martial practitioners would not be like the exalted heaven shaker Zhandonga and the others in the past, sacrificing 800 to kill 1,000 enemies. Now, however, a golden lamp suddenly appeared within Huang Guanglia's hands. Seeing this, Yan Zhaoge and the others could not help but look over. Of those present, Yan Di, Old Man Mo, and Song Wuliang all possessed extraordinary cultivation bases, and Yan Zhaoge was knowledgeable as he could all feel that a unique concept seemed to be contained within that golden lamp. Huang Guanglia lifted the golden lamp into the air, its light expanding, enveloping Huang Guanglia's entire body. He brought his palms together, a spiritual light shooting into the skies from the top of his head, shooting straight into the heavens. The light of the golden lamp bobbed and sank within the spiritual light. That spiritual light that led to the entire universe was exceptionally unique as it broke through space, leading to an unknown land. That was not space being broken through. Instead, it seemed to be rising towards a higher level of the world. Seeing this, Yan Zhaoge's pupils abruptly dilated as he could only feel that the scene before him greatly resembled that of before the Great Calamity, when the divine palace had yet to be destroyed, looming high above the 9 heavens. At that time, the world of the heavenly court where the divine palace was located had seemed to exist above the sky, lofty and unattainable to the myriad life forms of the universe. Looking at the place where the spiritual light above Huang Guanglia's head led to, many strange feelings arose within Yan Zhaoge's heart. He came to a realization that place could it be the world beyond worlds? Could it be that the Sacred Sun clan and Huang Guanglia had grasped a special method to the world beyond worlds? Carefully sensing it, Yan Zhaoge rejected this possibility. That spiritual light had connected to an unknown land above the 9 heavens. However, it was not a passageway to the world beyond worlds. Instead, it seemed more like it was temporarily drawing in some other profound power from within. Raising their heads and gazing over, they saw that at the boundary between the 8 extremities world and that mysterious, inscrutable, unknown land, a person was indistinctly visible. That person's entire body was shrouded in light, as if he was sitting cross-legged in meditation. The light shrouding him made it hard for others to see him clearly. Huang Guanglia extended a finger and tapped towards his forehead, the other pointing towards Yendi, and the other too. His figure gradually disappeared from the eye of the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation, leaving the pull and influence of the Grand Formation. Instead, a golden figure appeared where Huang Guanglia had been standing. It had the same facial features as Huang Guanglia. This golden figure supported the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation in Huang Guanglia's place, numerous golden chains suddenly flying out from its body. These golden chains also penetrated deep into the world of white light formed of the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation, entangling with the other chains of white light. Accompanied by Huang Guanglia's will, the golden chains began to retract, actually drawing the world of white light towards its center as well. The white light shook, resembling a collapse. The Tai Imperial Breaking Formation was still circulating, but the world of white light was collapsing as a whole. Its power began to gather at a high level, pressuring towards Yan Di, Old Man Mo, and Song Wuliang at its center, as well as that golden figure. The Grand Formation was currently in its final struggle against the flame devils down below. Everyone's power was being restrained as they were hard-pressed to suppress the internal changes of the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation. Old Man Mo frowned. What does the East Rising Martial Saint mean by this? With an external enemy before us, we should be working together as one. The flame devils have yet to be purged, yet you are already so impatient to turn your blade towards us. Don't you feel that it is a little too early? We've let the flame devils laugh at us for nothing. As Song Wuliang wielded the Jade Sea Pillheart sword, he snorted coldly, Sacred Sun Clan, it is indeed easier to change mountains and rivers than to change one's nature. You have always been so despicable. Huang Guanglia ignored Song Wuliang's fury, only looking at Old Man Mo as he said slowly, "No need to worry, Old Mo. The Grand Formation circulation will still suppress and kill the flame devils. Everything will proceed according to the original plan. The only difference is that I will not be accompanying the 3 of you. Don't think that the 3 of you can just stand by and do nothing. Now that the Grand Formation is collapsing inwards, everyone's power tangled together. You are unable to extricate yourselves, only able to move forward." Song Wuliang was greatly enraged. "At most, we'll just die. I want to see if without us, can you, Old Man Huang, stand against these numerous flame devil kings alone? Just because you dare to do this, do you think that I dare not do the same?" Huang Guanglia finally swiveled his head to look at Song Wuliang, saying mildly, "It is very normal for you to have such thoughts. However, it is useless. There are many things that you do not understand. When facing the flame devils, or even the 9 underworlds, the situation of my Sacred Sun Clan is different from yours." Huang Guanglia said indifferently, "To you, the 9 underworlds and the flame devils are a great tribulation of life and death. But to my Sacred Sun Clan, it is a test. Not being able to pass the test would naturally be greatly disadvantageous to us, causing endless trouble in the future. However, there would not be the threat of death at the end of the day. Since that is so, why would this old man not dare to take a risk? Different situations naturally result in different angles of viewing problems. To this old man, the invasion of the 9 underworlds or the flame devils is more of a fortuitous encounter than a danger. Now that a fortuitous encounter has come, I naturally have to grasp it with all my heart. Such as now. Huang Guanglia spread his palms, streaks of golden light being released, resembling the great sun rising from the east as it enveloped Song Wuliang's head. Moreover, why do you think this old man is still standing guard here now? It is naturally to supervise the battle. If you want to shed your mortal body in the face of battle, then I'll just have to chase you back and continue to focus on dealing with the flame devils. While it is not a great tribulation of life and death, if the flame devils really cause too much of a disturbance, this old man will also lose face and be in a disadvantageous situation. Old man Mo frowned, not speaking. Song Wuliang's face was livid. Yan Zhaoge and Yan Di raised their heads, gazing at that spiritual light that seemed to be connected to an unknown land, able to guide a unique, true intent of power into this 8 extremities world from there. Bearing it comes supplying it. This means that there is a backer in the world beyond worlds. Looking at that figure that seemed to exist between 2 worlds, Yan Zhaoge gradually came to a realization. So that's how that purple sun martial ancestor of yours is. Stuck at the peak of the 3rd level of the martial saint realm, neither rising nor falling, unable to successfully ascend to the world beyond worlds. Yet he inadvertently connected to the world beyond worlds, himself becoming a bridge-like existence. No, perhaps it would be more appropriate to say that he is a mouthpiece. Yan Zhaoge gazed at Huang Guanglia. It is just that your relationship with the other party still does not seem to be firm enough. Ha! Is it the other party who is measuring your worth? Does he need you to prove yourselves whether you want to unify the 8 extremities world? Or is it enough as long as you can quell the chaos of the 9 underworlds and the flame devils by whatever means? Chapter 492. Looking at Huang Guanglia, the corners of Yan Zhaoge's mouth arched slightly. The backer you found in the world beyond worlds, the 8 extremities world, is like a temporary cave manor in their eyes. What they need is an obedient and capable guardian, acting as their spokesperson and helping them to manage this world. Because your Sacred Sun clan has established contact with them, you have gained the initiative. They will not be stingy in giving you some benefits. However, if you are not up to par, unable to hold up the wall, they would not mind changing to a more capable representative. At the end of the day, it is not important who the representative is. What is important is that their interests in the 8 extremities world can be guaranteed. Of course, it is better to use someone familiar than the raw. If your potential and strength are similar, they would naturally be more inclined towards you. Still, you have to prove that you are worthy of their attention and support. Yan Zhaoge spread his palms apart, smiling. My guess might not be completely correct, but it should not be too far off, right? Hearing Yan Zhaoge mention the world beyond worlds, Huang Guanglia's expression changed slightly. So you also know of the existence of the world beyond worlds. His expression quickly returned to normal, his gaze indifferently sweeping over Yan Zhaoge. And Yan Di, you father and son are indeed geniuses. This old man previously felt that this great battle with the flame devils and the 9 underworlds might be a massive fortuitous encounter. However, before you transcend mortality and enter sainthood, before your broad creed mountain displays such a powerful battle formation, I must say that this old man really did not think that this fortuitous encounter would actually be the final one. While I do not want to admit it, if I do not take care of you along with the flame devils this time, my Sacred Sun clan will be in great danger. Huang Guanglia's calm gaze finally fell on Yan Zhaoge. I will take care of you first, lest there be no end of trouble in the future. At this point in time, your rate of growth is even faster than Yan Di's. Everything that is detrimental to my Sacred Sun clan has your shadow behind it all. You cannot be left alive. As he said this, Huang Guanglia raised his palm, golden light obscuring the heavens and covering the earth as it enveloped over towards Yan Zhaoga. Yan Zhaoga's expression did not change as he said leisurely, Huang Guanglia, your cultivation base of the second level of the martial saint realm is high, and you are also rather insightful in the Tao of martial arts. However, do you think that my Tai imperial breaking formation can be so easily comprehended by you? Yan Zhaoga laughed lightly. Why can't you understand? Since he dared to give you part of the formation, he must have a way to deal with you. Before he finished speaking, the Tai imperial breaking array rumbled and shook. The golden phantom that had replaced Huang Guanglia's position at the eye of the array was gradually invaded by the white light. The originally golden silhouette quickly turned white. Seeing Yan Zhaoga's composed expression, an intense feeling of unease arose within Huang Guanglia's heart. But before he could make his next move, he discovered that his body was also covered by a layer of white light. With a thought, Huang Guanglia wanted to forcefully break free from the Tai imperial breaking array and rush out of it. But as the white light flashed, his body shifted, and he was dragged back to the core hub of the formation. The figure that had already turned white merged with Huang Guanglia's body. White chains wrapped around his body, pulling him along with the world of white light towards the entrance of the domain passageway at the center of the sea of fire below. Huang Guanglia roared. Golden sunlight shone around him, but under the effect of the formation, the golden light turned into white light, becoming a part of the formation's power. Yan Di's expression had been calm throughout, as he said mildly, Huang Guanglia, do not forget that I am the one in charge of this formation. Looking at Huang Guanglia, Yan Zhaoga's smile turned cold. We can slowly settle our debts in the future. Now, as you said, focus wholeheartedly on dealing with the flame devils. Huang Guanglia glanced deeply at Yan Zhaoga, seemingly wanting to imprint his appearance into his very bones. Old Man Mo and Song Wuliang both had rather complex expressions on their faces. Old Man Mo appeared slightly out of sorts, while Song Wuliang's expression changed unceasingly, his mental state having suffered a great blow. His expression was rather strange. If it is, as you surnamed Huang says, those of the world beyond worlds will not tolerate the 9 underworlds and the flame devils destroying this 8 extremities world unbridledly, and things having reached an irreversible point, they might make a move. Huang Guanglia remained silent. Song Wuliang's mouth was astringent, first not mentioning how they might make a move. If they really could do it, what meaning would there be in all that we are doing now, all those sacrifices? Yan Zhaoga said mildly, there would naturally be meaning. What the other side cares about is that this world is not destroyed because of the 9 underworld's true devils and the flame devils. However, they might not care about who dies during this period of time. It is still that old adage. Against the Sacred Sun clan, they might lend a helping hand in passing, but against others, that might not necessarily be the case. The other side might hope to obtain some talents from the 8 extremities world, having them take them in to strengthen themselves, hoping to recruit some experts of the 8 extremities world who possess great potential, breaking through to the 3rd level of the martial saint realm and joining them, increasing their strength. However, such people are extremely rare at the end of the day. Still, for us, there are many people we do not wish to lose. Hearing his words, Song Wuliang nodded silently. His Jade Sea city was situated between the Earth domain and the Outer East Sea, being most directly threatened by the 9 underworlds and the flame devils. Now that the shock from the world beyond worlds had subsided, Song Wuliang's mental state had already stabilized once more, as he very naturally thought that living in this world, one ultimately had to rely on themselves. As a martial practitioner of his cultivation base, his mental state had always been firm. His mental state having been shaken by the news of the world beyond worlds, he rarely felt weak and dependent. Now that his mental state had stabilized once more, such thoughts from earlier no longer existed. Yan Zhaoge raised his head and looked up into the sky. Huang Guanglie was dragged back into the formation. Beneath the circulation of the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation, the spiritual light formed of the golden lamp above his head was extinguished as well. That seemingly unknown land within the sky vanished along with it. However, not long after this spiritual light had vanished, the sky suddenly shook as yet another streak of light actually shot into the sky. Yan Zhaoge's pupils dilated as he discovered that somewhere outside of the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation, another golden lamp that was exactly the same actually flew up. The golden light actually passed through the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation, transforming into a spiritual light that enveloped Huang Guanglie once more. The pillar of light shot into the heavens, breaking through the sky once more. The unknown lands, as well as the figure between the two worlds, appeared once again. Enveloped by the radiance, Huang Guanglie roared, making use of this chance to attack. Now, however, he suddenly felt the sky above his head darken. As he raised his head, he saw Yan Zhaoge appear beside that spiritual light before he held a small black incense burner in his hand, directly extending his hand into the spiritual light. That vast, ethereal spiritual light that was infinitely profound actually resembled 100 rivers entering the sea at this moment as it rapidly surged into that small black incense burner. Yan Zhaoge lowered his head, looking down at Huang Guanglie from above as he smiled. "I said I'll treat you, and I'll treat you. Just stay here obediently." Chapter 493. The Tai Imperial Breaking Formation circulated to the maximum, the world of white light enveloping the surrounding area. Outside the formation, and Qinglin and the others were obstructed by the white light as they were unable to see what was happening within. They could only see the surrounding dimensions of the heavens and earth roiling amidst the surging white light as space itself appeared distorted. A massive force that could overturn space expanded unceasingly into the surroundings. Those outside the formation could only retreat unceasingly into the distance, lest they be swept into the increasingly distorted space. The Tai Imperial Breaking Formation was currently forming a massive sealing force, suppressing and imprisoning the group of Flame Devil Kings, as well as the dimensional passageway entrance to the Flame Devil world. The space here distorted unceasingly, gradually transforming into a formless cage, separating the heavens and the earth from the outside. While everyone was unable to clearly see what was happening within the formation, they all saw a profound spiritual light suddenly penetrate through the world of white light, heading straight for the heavens and breaking through the heavens. The heavens split open, infinite scenes seemingly surfacing within. Sadly, they were obstructed by the world of white light down below, causing those outside the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation to be unable to see it clearly. Just as everyone was feeling puzzled, that spiritual light suddenly gradually faded, the hole in the heavens beginning to close up once more. While others did not know what that spiritual light was, the chief of the Sacred Sun clan, Huang Su, understood it clearly. Seeing the spiritual light begin to fade not long after it had appeared, Huang Su could not help but knit his brows tightly. He rejoiced incomparably now that he had specially prepared an additional divine lamp. Huang Su flicked his palm, a golden lantern appearing before hovering in midair, traversing the dense white light as it entered the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation. Seeing this, the martial practitioners of the other sects all discussed spiritedly, guessing within their hearts. The next moment, a spiritual light shot into the skies, once more shooting straight into the clouds. However, before Huang Su could heave a sigh of relief, that spiritual light actually showed signs of extinguishing once more. Within that Tai Imperial Breaking Formation, There seemed to be a black hole, which unceasingly devoured the golden lantern light and the radiance of the spiritual light. Huang Su's gaze was heavy as he stared fixedly at the world of white light. The world of white light descending into the crimson sea of flames down below. The collision between the two sides had reached its peak at this moment, causing the surrounding space to distort greatly. The space of the entire region of sea was unceasingly rippling, overlapping, stretching, and overturning. It was not just the eight extremities world. Even the space of the flame devil world on the other side of the dimensional passageway was affected as well, bright at times whilst dim at others. Above the outer East Sea, with the world of white light and the domain passageway entrance as the center, surging, formless waves madly swept towards the surroundings. The destructive wave swept everything in the surroundings in a terrifying manner. Those below the martial sacred realm would not be able to resist it, protected by their sacred artifacts. Meng Wan, infinite boundless mountain's longtime elder, as well as the martial saint and Qinglin, while they wouldn't be killed, didn't have the heart to forcibly resist it as they all retreated. However, when the martial artists on the periphery saw the apocalyptic scene in front of them, they were shocked to the core and excited at the same time. If everything went according to plan, the flame devils would be sealed, unable to threaten the eight extremities world for a very long time. There were only the Sacred Sun clan's Huang Su and a few others who, looking at that second spiritual light that had been extinguished, felt unspeakably bitter within their hearts, as the situation was completely different from what they had expected. At this moment, within the Tai Imperial breaking array, Huang Guanglia was not in a good mood. The white light flowed along his body, from bottom to top, starting from his feet and spreading upwards. The light became more and more intense, causing his legs to look like statues flashing with white light. This trend continued to extend upwards. The seal of the Tai Imperial breaking formation was about to be officially established. It was the same for Yen Di, Old Man Mo, and Song Wuliang. As Yen Zhaoga devoured the spiritual light formed of the golden fire with the earth-devouring burner, currently within the Tai Imperial breaking formation, he could also feel the world of white light moving towards its final collapse. In that moment when the grand formation finally collapsed, transforming into the seal, the destructive power it would create would be even more powerful than the spatial distortions in the outside world. Huang Guanglia raised his head, looking expressionlessly at Yen Zhaoga. Destroying this old man's ritual, you will not be able to retreat from this Tai Imperial breaking formation in time. At that time, the grand formation will completely collapse. However supreme a genius you are, if you are not a martial saint and do not have a sacred artifact to protect you, you will still be hard-pressed to escape death. If you want to escape, this old man will similarly have a chance to do so. Otherwise, this old man will just wait and see how you die. If you don't leave, then leave your life behind. At most, this old man will just admit defeat this time and guard this seal. His gaze swept indifferently across Yen Di. This time, your father won't be able to protect you. Yen Zhaoga held the earth-devouring burner in the form of a small black incense burner, extending it into the spiritual light and devouring it. Lowering his head to look at Huang Guanglia, Yen Zhaoga said mildly, "As for you, obediently complete the seal here. Don't waste your time thinking about those useless things. As for what happens to me, you don't have to worry about it." Saying thus, a mirror suddenly appeared in Yen Zhaoga's other hand. Seeing this, Yen Di instantly smiled, recognizing that it was the lofty prestige mirror. Yen Zhaoga infused his true essence within, numerous patterns of light appearing on the surface of the mirror, coming together to form a small, intricate spirit formation. Where the mirror light passed, a path seemed to appear before Yen Zhaoga. This path extended into the distance, twisting amidst distorted space as it led somewhere unknown. Gazing over carefully, Huang Guanglia saw that the mirror light seemed to have opened a door to space. You. Huang Guanglia glared at Yan Zhaoge. Yan Zhaoge said indifferently, "What about me?" Huang Guanglia, "I'll tell you plainly that this matter today is not over. Your sacred Sun clan loves to stir up trouble. When you're free later, we'll have a proper talk." The Tai Imperial Breaking Formation, enveloped by the white light, began to formally collapse, the chaotic phenomena outside the Grand Formation growing more intense. The white light on the bodies of Yen Di, Huang Guanglia, and the other two gradually enveloped them completely. That spiritual light that connected to the heavens, and the earth vanished completely as well. Yan Zhaoge kept the earth-devouring burner, preparing to step into the spatial door formed of the lofty prestige mirror's mirror light, stepping into this spatial passageway that had been temporarily established through traversing techniques. Suddenly, his expression changed slightly. Swiveling his head, he saw a figure flying amidst the chaotic flows of space at the periphery of the Grand Formation that had already collapsed. That was someone who had been swept into the formless ripples of the formation outside. Gazing over carefully, Yan Zhaoge saw that it was a famed Grand Elder of the Sacred Sun clan, his cultivation base having shockingly already reached the peak of the transcending mortality stage, only a step away from the martial saint realm. However, facing such terrifying, frenzied tides, his true martial avatar having been ripped apart, his life hanging by a thread. In another direction, there was also someone present. What shocked Yan Zhaoge was that it was clearly Fu Enshu. How tyrannical and ferocious were the formless, frenzied tides that those who had not entered the martial saint realm would be hard-pressed to withstand. While Fu Enshu had recently broken through to the 9th level of the martial grandmaster realm, the late essence talisman stage, she was still unable to withstand such frenzied tides, as she had already been heavily injured. The chaotic flows of space formed by the frenzied tides even looked like they were about to rip her body apart. Yan Zhaoge frowned. The mirror light of the lofty prestige mirror circulating, temporarily stabilizing the chaotic space before he flew forward, catching Fu Enshu. Already heavily injured, seeing Yan Zhaoge, Fu Enshu was first shocked before she revealed a reassured expression. Her mind relaxing, Fu Enshu instantly lost consciousness. Yan Zhaoge had no time to think about it. The formation collapsed. The seal formed. This region of the heavens and earth was about to collapse. Keeping Fu Enshu's body within the shadow-shrinking pouch, Yan Zhaoge stepped into the passageway formed of the mirror light, his figure vanishing from the 8 extremities world. Meanwhile, the body of that Grand Elder of the Sacred Sun clan was completely shattered by the collapsing space, where he had been, above the outer East Sea, at the entrance of the dimensional passageway that had originally led to the Flame Devil world. Space was chaotic to the extreme before it abruptly fell strangely silent. A mountain peak that flickered with white light fell into the great sea, suppressing the seabed, its peak high above the sea's surface. In the air above the mountain peak, a vast, boundless sigil flickered with a gentle radiance. While the heavens and earth had still been overturned just a moment ago, everything was calm and peaceful now. To be continued. Chapter 494. This was also Yan Zhaoge's first time using the mirror dimensional traversing art. Making use of this secret art, Yan Zhaoge strode amidst chaotic space, avoiding the final collapse of the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation on the outer East Sea of the 8 extremities world. Still, having stepped into that temporary dimensional passageway, he had already left the 8 extremities world, the mirror light having the effect of teleportation. Within the mirror light, Yan Zhaoge did not need to exert any force at all as the mechanism directly sent him forward. The space before him displayed an indiscernible, bizarre, and incomprehensible state, causing Yan Zhaoge to recall the scenes of him heading to the floating life world through the 10-character heavenly rainbow earlier. Now he was about to head to a new world. Yen Zhaoge lowered his head to look at the lofty prestige mirror in his hand. A profound rune surfaced on the surface of the mirror, faint traces of blood gradually appearing amidst the rune. As these traces of blood merged with the mirror light, they did not have the feeling of old filth, as they instead shone brightly like crystals. The mirror light merged with the blood-red light, vaguely guiding Yen Zhaoge in the right direction. A moment later, the scenes before him suddenly changed as Yen Zhaoge's figure halted as well. Sunlight illuminated the area before him, the sky clear for thousands of li, gazing down. It was a jade sea, causing one to feel as though they were still on the surface of the Eight Extremities world's East Sea. However, feeling the spiritual chi flow of this world that was different from that of the Eight Extremities world, Yen Zhaoge knew that while it was still an ocean before him, he had already left the Eight Extremities world, arriving in a whole new world. The mirror light that enveloped Yen Zhaoge vanished. Gazing back, that temporary dimensional passageway behind him had already vanished without a trace. Lowering his head to look at the lofty prestige mirror in his hand, whose mirror light had dimmed once more, Yen Zhaoge knew that this treasured mirror would have to undergo a period of recuperation before it could be used again. Before the lofty prestige mirror recovered, he would have to remain in this world. I can only hope that the technique is correct. This is the vast ocean world. That way, I can still look for senior apprentice brother Su and little June, in passing. Yen Zhaoge muttered to himself, keeping the lofty prestige mirror. Before he had parted with Su Fei earlier, Yen Zhaoge had specially kept his essence blood so that he could attempt to find the vast ocean world in the future. The Eight Extremities world and the vast ocean world did not have a dimensional passageway that directly connected them. If the mirror dimension traversing technique wanted to locate them, it would require something to rely on. After having returned to the Eight Extremities world from the floating life world, other than cultivating and preparing to deal with the chaos of the Earth domain and the flame devils, Yen Zhaoge had been thinking of a way to bring back Su Fei and Jun. Still, with the situation in the Eight Extremities world on the verge of erupting at any moment back then, Yen Zhaoge had been unable to spare any attention to it. Now, however, he had managed to kill two birds with one stone. However, this was also Yen Zhaoge's first time using such a secret technique. Whether or not it worked still had to be tested. If he could confirm that this was the vast ocean world, things would be much easier to handle. What Yen Zhaoge felt rather regretful about was that while his Grand Master, Yuan Zhengfeng, had severed his left arm back then, sending his second apprentice uncle Feng Zhuan, and the clear chi robe to escape to the heavens, his essence blood had sadly been completely depleted amidst the chaotic flows of space. At that time, he didn't have the time to leave any clues. Now, he could only hope that the old man was blessed by the heavens. As Yen Zhaoge thought about this, his expression turned grave as he took out his accompanying shadow shrinking pouch. After releasing Fu Enshu from the shadow shrinking pouch, Yen Zhaoge inhaled deeply, supporting Fu Enshu's body with his true essence before unceasingly infusing it into the various major acupoints of Fu Enshu's body. A few golden needles landed on Yen Zhaoge, once more rapidly descending. As the golden needles pierced into the vital acupoints of Fu Enshu's body, light gradually lit up at their tips, the blue flames resembling candles as they flickered unceasingly. Yen Zhaoge extended his palm, making a grabbing motion towards those golden needles within the air, the blue flames instantly growing brighter. After a long time, the blue flames at the tips of the golden needles gradually grew weaker before finally being extinguished. However, after the blue flames had been extinguished, the golden light of fire gradually lit up. Seeing the golden light at the tips of the golden needles, Yen Zhaoge's gaze gradually turned gloomy. It is indeed the Sacred Sun Clan. Fu Enshu's injuries were not light, the heaviest naturally coming from the aftershocks of the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation, sealing the East Sea back then. Other than that, a small portion of her injuries had been caused by the Sacred Sun clan's martial arts, and from the looks of it, they had been inflicted somewhat earlier than the power of the seal. Thinking of that transcending mortality martial grandmaster of the Sacred Sun clan who had been trapped alongside Fu Enshu within the chaotic flows, Yan Zhaoge gradually came to an understanding. It was most likely that the two sides had clashed, having been affected by the aftershocks of that frenzied tide, and swept within. In the final moments of the seal, the Tai Imperial Breaking Formation had already collapsed. Those outside could enter the formation, but there were few who could withstand that terrifying power of the seal. Beneath the power of the seal, space distorted and folded, everything collapsing and congregating at the very center as Fu Enshu and Yin Yanen were swept all the way to the central region. Yan Zhaoge flicked his finger lightly, his true essence circulating as streams of icy cold qi shot out from his finger, landing on the golden needles and entering Fu Enshu's body through them. The golden light at the tips of the golden needles also began to gradually extinguish. While Fu Enshu had yet to regain consciousness, her breathing had already begun to stabilize as the color of blood had also returned to her face. Seeing that Fu Enshu's condition had already stabilized and was no longer in danger, Yan Zhaoge nodded slightly. However, he did not relax in the least. Normally speaking, it had been Fu Enshu who had personally brought Feng Yunsheng and Yin Luhua over to the East Sea this time. Now that Fu Enshu had been attacked, he did not know how they were doing. Fu Enshu's opponent was a long-time martial grandmaster of the Sacred Sun clan of the same generation as Huang Guanglie and Pan Buotai. As a grand elder of the Sacred Sun clan, he had already been a transcending mortality martial grandmaster for quite some time. While Fu Enshu had successfully stepped into the 9th level of the martial grandmaster realm, the late essence talisman stage, facing such an opponent, the situation was still not optimistic. Under such circumstances, it would be very hard for her to protect the safety of Feng Yunsheng and Yin Luhua. Yan Zhaoge had already sensed that there was no one hidden within Fu Enshu's shadow shrinking pouch. In other words, the three of them had been separated. Whether it was the attack of a transcending mortality martial grandmaster or that terrifying power of the seal, they were both not things that Feng Yunsheng and the others could withstand. Lightly rubbing his temples, Yan Zhaoge let out a long breath. As for the specifics, we can only wait for senior apprentice Aunt Fu to awaken before we can know. Sacred Sun clan. Ha! Yan Zhaoge narrowed his eyes into slits, a cold light shooting out from within. He retracted his thoughts, sending the slumbering Fu Enshu back into the shadow shrinking pouch before speeding along above the sea's surface. As he traveled, he also felt and adapted to the spiritual qi flow of this world that he was currently in. After carefully feeling it, a smile gradually appeared at the corners of Yan Zhaoge's mouth. While the spiritual qi flow of this world was different from that of the 8 extremities world, it was also extremely suitable for qi cultivators to cultivate in, being much more friendly than that of the floating life world. While he had not personally entered the vast ocean world, after having interacted with the martial practitioners of Changli Mountain and the Blood Dragon sect, Yan Zhaoge could confirm that the level of the qi cultivators of the vast ocean world was not low. The spiritual qi channels of the vast ocean world were definitely very suitable for qi cultivators to cultivate in. This was especially so for the Jade Sea down below. Yan Zhaoge could feel the abundant water vapor within, combining it with his previous experience of interacting with the people of Jade Sea City, the water domain's sacred ground of the 8 extremities world. Roughly estimating the tides, he could vaguely feel that the sea here might be even vaster than that of the 8 extremities world. While he was unable to verify this, such geographical characteristics still caused Yan Zhaoge to feel slightly invigorated. While this is my first time using a traversing technique, the results still seem pretty good. Chapter 4, 95. As Yen Zhaoge flew above the sea's surface, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Halting in midair, Yen Zhaoge gazed into the distance, vaguely feeling that there seemed to be an existence like a barrier up ahead, blocking his path. Yen Zhaoge flicked his finger, a streak of light flying out from his fingertip and shooting into the distance. Just as the streak of light was about to vanish into the distant horizon, it suddenly exploded in midair. Accompanied by the scattering of the light, space could clearly be seen shaking slightly where the sea and the sky intersected, resembling a stone falling into water as numerous ripples spread out. Space surged like water, numerous ripples spreading into the distance, even passing by Yen Zhaoge's head. Swiveling his head, Yen Zhaoge saw that the ripples did not dissipate for a long time. I actually just happened to land within a barrier. Yen Zhaoge did not know whether to laugh or to cry, having brought him to this world with the mirror-dimensional traversing technique. It was still uncertain where exactly he would land. Even with Xue Fei's essence blood as a guide, he would not land near Xue Fei. Instead, he would land in the world where the void realms were the weakest. Or perhaps someone was using a similar method to shake the realm barrier. Then, with the two sides working together, he would land there, landing within a large-scale barrier. Yen Zhaoge did not know whether to laugh or to cry. Nearing the boundary of the barrier, Yen Zhaoge felt that it was not low. The person who had set up this barrier must have been rather powerful. The lofty prestige mirror had fallen into slumber, and the mirror-dimensional traversing technique would not be able to be used for a period of time. While Yen Zhaoge was worried about Feng Yunqing's situation in the Eight Extremities world, he knew that there was no use in being anxious. Therefore, he could only calm his thoughts for now. If it were any other time, the audacious Yen Zhaoge would very much be interested in turning in the opposite direction, entering deep within the barrier to see what exactly was hidden here. However, Yen Zhaoge urgently wanted to know whether this world he was in was the vast ocean world, if it was where were Su Fei and his disciple now, and how were they doing? Arriving at the boundary of the barrier, looking at the barrier before him, Yen Zhaoge took out his blood devil plate. This thing was a consumable that had to be refined and replenished from time to time. Many of the treasures required came from the Sacred Sun Clan's fire domain, and were also extremely rare. Fortunately, in having interacted with the Sacred Sun Clan these past few years, Broad Creed Mountain, and Yen Zhaoge had mostly been taking advantage of them, having gone to the fire domain to obtain many spoils of war. A crystal container was opened, and streams of sinister and ruthless crimson light soared into the sky and landed on the spirit formation barrier before them. The barrier was so powerful that even the sanguine light found it difficult to corrode it. The wave-like light screen was dyed the color of blood. It looked extremely filthy, but surprisingly, it didn't shatter. Yen Zhaoge's expression did not change as he extended a finger and tapped lightly on that screen of light. A gap finally appeared at the center of the barrier that had been tainted by the blood-red light, which then expanded unceasingly in all directions. Accompanied by the unceasing infusing of Yen Zhaoge's true essence within, the barrier also broke apart unceasingly, finally forming a circular gap of around 3 meters in diameter. Just as Yen Zhaoge was about to leave through this gap, he suddenly saw that outside the barrier, someone had shockingly arrived nearby as well. There were both men and women. The older ones were in their 40s, while the younger ones were only in their 20s. There were Essence Spirit Martial Grandmasters, Spirit Vessel Martial Grandmasters, and even martial scholars. They had originally been in high spirits, talking and laughing amongst themselves. Some of them were even holding a small flag in their hands, seemingly eager to do something. Without exception, all of their gazes contained a certain emotion called anticipation. One of them, a girl, while her cultivation base was on the lower side, still only a martial scholar, was the happiest. Fong Min was currently filled with anticipation. Having coincidentally obtained a fortuitous encounter, she had first obtained the exact location of this barrier, then obtained the Zhongyuan spirit flag that could break through it. While she still didn't know what exactly was within the barrier, just looking at its scale, she knew that it was most likely concealing good things. While she was young and her cultivation base was on the lower side, with her senior apprentice uncle and senior apprentice brother of the same clan coming to help her, and with her unique identity, her fellow disciples wouldn't go to the extent of swallowing up her things. Even if there wasn't a heaven-defying fortuitous encounter, at the very least, she wouldn't return empty-handed. There should be sufficient treasures to share with her senior apprentice uncle and senior apprentice brother, so that they wouldn't have made a wasted trip. When Fong Min saw that a hole had actually opened up in the barrier as soon as they arrived, she couldn't help but feel shocked whilst also overjoyed. However, seeing Yan Zhaoga's figure appear before the hole in the barrier, Fong Min and the others were instantly taken aback, wanting to speak yet seeming to choke on their words. Someone beat us to it. This was the first thought that popped up within the minds of Fong Min and the others. Yan Zhaoga had not thought that they would meet someone head-on. Appraising them slightly, they saw that after their initial moment of shock, the other party had quickly regained their wits as they looked warily at Yan Zhaoga. Meeting their gaze, Yan Zhaoga pondered for a moment, looking at the barrier around them. He understood what they were thinking as he didn't know whether to laugh or to cry for a time. The two sides just stood there, separated by the barrier that resembled a city wall yet had already opened up, staring at each other as no one moved. The person with the highest cultivation base amongst them was a late essence spirit martial grandmaster, a middle-aged man at the 6th level of the martial grandmaster realm. He strode forward, asking solemnly, "Spirit Rhino Island's Yang Chu fan, I wonder how I should address you." Hearing his words, Yan Zhaoga instantly felt completely at ease. It was precisely the same voice as Changli Mountains by Jinkong, and his wife back then, as well as the blood dragon sex Hai Jingjie and the others. This was precisely the vast ocean world. He had not been mistaken in using the mirror-dimensional traversing technique. "I am Yan Zhaoga, a loose practitioner of the Beyond the Seas." "Greetings, everyone," Yan Zhaoga said casually. He used the language of pre-great calamity times. The language of the vast ocean world was extremely similar to this ancient language. Conversing in this language, the other party would basically be able to understand what he meant. While the language of the vast ocean world was similar to the ancient language of pre-great calamity times, having not interacted much with Bai Jingkong and his wife before, it would be very difficult for Yan Zhaoga to completely learn the language. Fortunately, the ancient language of pre-great calamity times was already sufficient. Seeing Yan Zhaoga's extraordinary bearing and leisurely expression, Yang Chufan could not make up his mind for a time. It was instead Fong Min and the other spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners who were looking at Yan Zhaoga and the barrier before them. Anxious looks vaguely appeared on the faces of the people within the barrier. Yan Zhaoga was neither hurried nor slow as he said smilingly, "To tell you the truth, having come from beyond the seas, I am still not familiar with the situation here. I have come here this time to look for an old friend, having entered this barrier by accident. Not being familiar with the people and the place, I am indeed incomparably happy to have met you all here. I would like to ask for directions. I wonder if you all know how to get to Changli Mountain." The spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners were doubtful. Just as Yang Chufan was about to answer, his expression suddenly changed slightly. On the great sea behind them, numerous streams of ferocious black chi shot through the air, shooting over in the direction of the barrier. The black chi transformed into sabers that were ferocious to the extreme, filled with killing intent. To be continued. Chapter 496. The all-encompassing black chi transformed into countless sabers, obscuring the heavens and covering the earth as they hacked over towards those in the vicinity of the barrier. While Yan Zhaoge's expression did not change, the eyelids of Fang Min, Yang Chufan, and the others twitched abruptly, people of the evil shifting sect. The faces of those of Spirit Rhino Island all looked rather bitter, because that all-encompassing saber chi clearly indicated that there were at least 2 late essence spirit martial practitioners on the other side. It was clear that the people of the evil shifting sect had specifically followed them here to take advantage of the situation, waiting for them to find the barrier, waiting for them to break it, then making use of the situation to kill them and plunder their treasures. While Fang Min and the others felt indignant, they still did not feel too much fear. However, Yang Chufan was more experienced and thought more. The other side's attacks were filled with killing intent, actually seeming like they wanted to leave all of them here. Making a move under such circumstances, they most likely had absolute confidence in taking down all of their Spirit Rhino Island present. The 2 late essence spirit martial practitioners might not even be at their full strength. At this point, Yang Chufan's heart suddenly jolted slightly as he glanced at Yan Zhaoge from the corner of his eye. With time being short, he had not had the time to probe Yan Zhaoge's strength. While the other party looked young, he felt that he was not someone easy to deal with. Their group actually faced the danger of being attacked from 2 sides. Yang Chufan asked, "Are you friend or foe of Changli Mountain?" Yan Zhaoge appraised the saber chi assaulting from the distance through the hole in the barrier rather interestedly, saying casually, "Most likely friend, though I can't be sure." His casual tone caused Yang Chufan to choke as he pointed at the black saber chi that had already arrived before them, saying anxiously, "These are people of the evil shifting sect. The evil shifting sect is one of the 6 evil sects, a sworn enemy of Changli Mountain of the 7 Pillars of Good." Yan Zhaoge laughed. "I have no interest in the evil shifting sect. I just want to ask, how is the relationship between your Spirit Rhino Island and Changli Mountain?" Yang Chufan wanted to answer, but it was already too late. With a stern roar, he shot into the skies, brandishing his palms as streams of light flickered. Carefully observing, Yan Zhaoge saw a jade-green streak of light on Yang Chufan's palm, nimble and graceful as it traversed the horizon. That jade-green light seemed weak, yet was exceptionally agile as it specifically sought the flaws of the other party's saber arts, dispelling their ferocious attacks into formlessness. Wherever the green light went, it seized every opportunity. Not only did it neutralize the other party's attack, but it also went against the flow, trying to find the flaws in the other party's saber technique to counterattack. There were even a few times where it felt like the evil shifting sect martial practitioner was intentionally giving way to his opponent, allowing him to reveal his flaws as he wished. Or perhaps the 2 of them were familiar with each other and had a tacit understanding of each other. They were performing an orderly deduction with perfect coordination. Seeing this, Yan Zhaoge nodded slightly, having an idea of what was going on. The level of Spirit Rhino Island's martial arts was similar to that of the evil shifting sect before him, as well as Changli Mountain and the Blood Dragon sect, which he had previously seen, possessing some intricate aspects. The rejuvenation of the martial arts of this vast ocean world was indeed not weak. When the 2 evil shifting sect cultivators worked together, but could not do anything to Yang Chufan, they immediately became enraged. Their saber chi suddenly became even sharper. At this moment, the black saber chi had turned blood red. At this moment, the blood-red sky solidified into a real sea of blood. The sea of blood was filled with white bones, piling up into 2 mountains of white bones. The mountains of bones and the sea of blood pressured down from above, just like that, heavy and brutal to the extreme. The saber chi was like an iron plate at this moment, seemingly having no flaws at all. even executing Spirit Rhino Island's supreme martial art, the Spirit Rhino Palm. Yang Chufan was unable to break through the saber chi before him. Streams of light rose from Yang Chufan's body as the mid-grade spirit artifact that he carried with him played a role. However, the other party had mid-grade spirit artifacts as well, and two of them at that. Beneath the powerful pressure, the streams of jade light brought about by Yang Chufan's palm were gradually buried by the mountains of bones, devoured by the sea of blood. Fong Min and the other Spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners hurriedly came forward to assist him. However, other martial practitioners of the evil shifting sect had arrived as well, their numbers indeed greater. Surrounded and attacked by the evil shifting sect experts, the people of Spirit Rhino Island instantly fell into dire straits. Fong Min grit her teeth, clapping down on her left wrist with her right palm. A jade bracelet shattered, streams of light surging to form a barrier that enveloped her and her fellow disciples. However, as the two mountains of bones that towered above the sea of blood pressed down together, Yang Chufan, Fong Min, and the others were instantly rendered unable to move. Yang Chufan clenched his teeth, glancing at Yen Zhaoga, before roaring, "The evil shifting sect and Changli Mountain are mortal enemies. You won't be able to get any news out of them." Yen Zhaoga stroked his lower chin, his expression as per usual as he turned to look at the evil shifting sect martial practitioners above the mountains of bones and the sea of blood. With those two late essence spirit martial grandmasters at their head, the evil shifting sect martial practitioners all frowned as they looked at Yen Zhaoga, who was within the barrier. However, none of them moved as they still attacked the people of Spirit Rhino Island aggressively, seemingly not worried that Yen Zhaoga would cause trouble. Paying attention to Yen Zhaoga, the other party was still somewhat distracted. At this moment, the people of Spirit Rhino Island rampantly exerted force, the light created by Fong Min's jade bracelet suddenly focusing on a single point separating the two mountains of bones. Meanwhile, jade light flickered within Yang Chufan's pupils as his entire person flickered, seemingly vanishing amidst the air. A jade light that was as thin as a needle shot upwards unceasingly, traversing the sea of blood and piercing through the mountains of bones. While it looked as tiny as a speck of light, there seemed to be nothing that could trap it as it shockingly broke through the mountains of bones and the sea of blood. After repelling an opponent, Yang Chufan was about to attempt to lead Fong Min and the others away. With the situation being stronger than they were, and the other party being stronger, they could only temporarily retreat now before finding a chance to exact their revenge. However, right at this moment, a black saber chi suddenly descended from the sky. Yang Chufan struck out with the spirit Rhino Palm, jade green light shooting upwards. Who knew that ordinary-looking black saber chi actually seemed to exert a suction force as it sucked the green light into its blade. From the looks of it, it was like a green rope was entangled around the black saber. As the black saber descended, the jade green rope was instantly broken into several pieces. Yang Chufan's face turned pale. Chu Xiong? He could sense that the other party was also a late essence spirit martial grandmaster, not an essence talisman martial grandmaster. But for an essence spirit martial grandmaster to be able to cultivate the evil shifting sect's profound dark saber chi, to such a level there could only be a single person, dark evil Jiang Xiong. The black saber chi condensed into a true black saber, its hilt held in the hands of a person who looked to be around 40 years of age. His lips were slightly pursed, his eyes clearly bloodshot. Jiang Xiong's lips carried a hint of a mocking smile as he stared at the people of Spirit Rhino Island with bloodshot eyes, an extremely dangerous light within them. Seeing him, Yang Chufan's heart instantly sunk to the very bottom. No wonder the other two late essence spirit martial grandmasters of the evil shifting sect had not paid any attention to those who were not from Spirit Rhino Island. No wonder the evil shifting sect seemed to want to keep them here forever. The other party indeed had the ability to completely devour them. Thank you for leading the way, Jiang Xiong said nonchalantly, after cutting off the path of Yang Chu-fan and the others. Those evil shifting sect martial practitioners attacked once more. Jiang Xiong pointed at Fang Min. I want old man Fang's granddaughter alive. Everyone else, kill them all. After saying thus, he walked towards that gap in the barrier, looking at Yan Zhaoga. You want to find people of Changli Mountain? Yan Zhaoga nodded. That's right. Jiang Xiong asked, are they friend or foe of Changli Mountain? Chapter 4, 97. After having seen the conflict between Changli Mountain and the Blood Dragon sect, Yan Zhaoga already had a general understanding of the relationship between the so-called 7 pillars of good and the 6 evil sects of the vast ocean world. Righteous and evil were relatively opposed to each other, but different sects of the same camp also had their own conflicts and grudges in private. From time to time, they would fight. However, when the two camps collided, the forces of the same camp would mostly put aside their former enmity and work together. While Yang Chu-fan and the others had not explicitly said it, Yan Zhaoga was still able to guess a thing or two about it. Spirit Rhino Island was most likely also one of the 7 pillars of good, on par with the Blood Dragon sect and Changli Mountain being enemies of the evil shifting sect of the 6 evil sects. However, the relationship between Spirit Rhino Island and Changli Mountain might not be all that harmonious amongst the 7 pillars of good. As Jiang Xiong walked towards the gap in the barrier, he gazed at Yan Zhaoga. His question was similar to Yang Chufan's earlier. Yan Zhaoga's answer did not change, as he said casually, me and Changli Mountain? They're most likely friends, but I can't say for sure. I'll have to wait until I meet the people of Changli Mountain first. Jiang Xiong's face was expressionless as he continued walking forward. What's inside the barrier? Glancing at Jiang Xiong, Yan Zhaoga smiled, spreading his hands apart. If I said that I was only passing by, not knowing what was inside, also not having obtained anything from this barrier, would anyone here believe me? Jiang Xiong was taken aback as the other evil shifting sect martial practitioners all looked unkindly at Yan Zhaoga, while Yang Chu-fan and the other Spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners were currently being surrounded and attacked by the evil shifting sect martial practitioners. Their appraising gazes towards Yan Zhaoga were also filled with doubt. Everyone present clearly had one sentence written on their faces. It would be weird if I believed you, Jiang Xiong said indifferently. The barrier is still there, which means that the core treasure should not have been touched, but I can't be sure about the other things. Yan Zhaoga clapped his hands, laughing lightly. In this current world, no one would believe the truth. At this time, Jiang Xiong had already arrived at the gap in the barrier, just a single step away from Yan Zhaoga. Staring fixedly at Yan Zhaoga with his bloodshot eyes, he suddenly bared his teeth in a smile. Whether it's the truth or not is no longer important. Before his words had landed, Jiang Xiong suddenly attacked, a blood-red saber light suddenly appearing as he hacked towards Yan Zhaoga. A shadow flickered above Jiang Xiong's head, presenting a fiendish scene. A black wind howled, a sea of blood, and a mountain of bones. On top of the white mountain of bones stood a figure. He held a saber in his hand, and wherever the saber pointed, it slaughtered the common people. It was no longer the dark black saber chi that he had used before, but the evil shifting sect's blood sea saber chi, which was even more profound. At this moment, the vast sea of blood seemed to compress into a streak of blood light, condensed to the extreme. Wherever the saber light passed, the void seemed to be split into 2 by a bloody line. It doesn't matter if you really don't care or you're pretending to be calm. The fact that you're able to remain calm after seeing me make a move shows that you have some ability. Jiang Xiong sneered, and said, "But your grandpa bear didn't use much strength to beat a waist like Yang Chu-fan just now." The distance between the two of them was already very close, and the blood-red saber light arrived in an instant. Seeing this, Yang Chu-fan, Fang Min, and the other spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners all felt a chill run down their spines. The martial arts of the evil shifting sect were big and bold, powerful and ferocious. However, the baleful aura was too heavy, and when it attacked and retreated, it was not as smooth and fast. However, if the evil shifting sect martial practitioners were allowed to get close and gain the initiative to forcibly attack, it would be extremely hard for their opponents to deal with. Amidst his words, Jiang Xiong arrived at the gap in the barrier in a few steps before suddenly erupting, wanting to catch Yan Zhaoge unawares. Yang Chu-fan and the others wanted to warn Yan Zhaoge, but were beaten to the point of being unable to catch their breath by the fierce attacks of the other evil shifting sect martial grandmasters. Seeing Jiang Xiong not even using his dark black saber chi now, instead directly unleashing his blood sea saber chi, the hearts of the spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners sunk. Dark, evil Jiang Xiong, an elite of the evil shifting sect's senior generation, the strongest existence amongst the Essence Spirit Martial Grandmasters, the strongest as well as youngest late Essence Spirit Martial Grandmaster. In the vast ocean world, it was customary to list the 10 strongest martial practitioners of each major cultivation level. The evil shifting sect's dark, evil Jiang Xiong was ranked third amongst the current top 10 Essence Spirit experts. This ranking did not look at one's background or cultivation level. There was only one criterion, and that was one's personal strength. It depended on whether one could fight or not. The reason why Jiang Xiong could be ranked third was because of his outstanding strength and glorious battle achievements. Having risen to fame at a young age, having traversed through trials and tribulations for more than 20 years, stepping on the corpses of countless enemies to get where he was now, his strength could not be doubted. Born of the 6 evil sects, other than being vicious and merciless, he was also unscrupulous, only looking at results. In order to obtain the greatest chance of victory, he did not mind first pretending to chat with Yan Zhaoge, immediately turning hostile and making a move after closing the distance between them. Whether Yan Zhaoge was friend or foe of Changli Mountain, foe of Spirit Rhino Island, from the moment he had seen Yan Zhaoge appear within the barrier, Jiang Xiong had already resolved on killing him. What he was scheming was merely how he could kill this opponent of his. Facing the sudden appearance of the blood-red saber light, Yan Zhaoge smiled nonchalantly. Amidst his words, Yan Zhaoge formed a sword with his index and middle fingers, tapping out towards the blood-red light. The green sword light suddenly lit up, emitting a long roar that resembled the roar of a dragon. The sword light instantly transformed into the form of a green dragon, meeting Jiang Xiong's saber light head-on. As the two sides clashed in midair, that line of blood-red light instantly expanded mightily, transforming into a sea of blood once more. The green dragon was fearless as it entered the sea of blood, riding the winds and breaking through the waves as it advanced, mightily splitting the sea of blood apart. Jiang Xiong's expression did not change as the ferocity within his bloodshot eyes intensified, a cruel smile even appearing on his face. "I was just waiting for you." Within the sea of blood, a mountain of white bones suddenly arose, breaking through the surface of the sea and blocking before the green dragon. Jiang Xiong opened his palm, a white bone saber suddenly appearing within it, overflowing with baleful qi. It was shockingly an extremely high-quality mid-grade spirit artifact. He raised his saber and descended, sweeping along the mountain of bones and the sea of blood as it chopped down towards the green dragon formed of Yan Zhaoge's sword light. The green dragon, formed of Yan Zhaoge's sword light, did not halt in the slightest as it continued shooting towards Jiang Xiong. As the green dragon collided with the mountain of bones, the sea of blood roiled unceasingly, the mountain of bones shaking intensely as white bones shattered and fell to the ground. However, the green dragon was also sent flying backwards, light exploding as it seemed about to disperse. Jiang Xiong laughed savagely. "Hand over all the treasures within the barrier, and Grandpa Xiong will leave you a complete corpse." However, before his words had landed, Yan Zhaoga's sword light had already transformed into another green dragon, continuing to collide with the mountain of bones and the sea of blood. Then, a third, a fourth. Jiang Xiong was stunned as he looked at this opponent before him. It was as though he did not need to return his chi at all as his tyrannical attacks rained down like a tempest, his swords striking out in rapid succession. The numerous dragons linked together like a frenzied tide, ripping apart the sea of blood, smashing apart the mountain of bones. Of course I know that the move you exchanged with those spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners just now was just a light touch, not having used your full strength. The sea of blood dissipated as Yan Zhaoga strolled out of the barrier, laughing lightly. "Still, even if you used your full strength, it's still nothing much. On the other hand, why don't you take a guess? How much effort do I need to put in to fight a piece of trash like you?" Chapter 498. Yan Zhaoga executed the coiling dragon sleeve with finger-flicking shocking thunder, his sword light resembling a dragon. Thunders interlocking as it enveloped the heavens and covered the earth as it attacked towards Jiang Xiong with the momentum of numerous dragons emerging from the sea. The evil shifting sect's martial arts were bold and unrestrained, fierce and vicious. They were adept at fighting head-on attacks. However, if he encountered an opponent that was even fiercer, and mightier than him, then it was very easy for him to fall into a disadvantageous position. He would be restrained at every turn, and he would have the feeling that he wouldn't be able to turn the tables no matter how he fought. Each sword of Yan Zhaoga's was faster than the previous, the power within each sword condensed and vigorous to the extreme, with no gaps between them at all, as though there was no need for him to return his chi at all. This caused Jiang Xiong to have the misconception of being simultaneously attacked by multiple Yan Zhaogas at the same time. The ominous glint in his bloodshot eyes grew stronger and stronger, and the expression on his face became more and more serious. The other evil shifting sect martial practitioners, as well as Yang Chu-fan, Fang Min, and the other spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners were similarly taken aback. Amidst their extreme shock, the battle between them was no longer as intense as before. Everyone diverted a considerable portion of their attention as they watched Yan Zhaoga beat Jiang Xiong into constant retreat. All of them were rendered wide-eyed and tongue-tied. Fang Min asked blankly, "Martial Uncle Yang, he seems to be fighting barehanded against Jiang Xiong, who is already controlling a spirit weapon?" Yang Chu-fan was equally stunned. That's right. However shocked the onlookers were, they could not compare to Jiang Xiong, who was directly facing Yan Zhaoga's sharpness. He clenched his teeth and suddenly held his saber with both hands. The grayish-white bone blade in his hands suddenly shone with a strange light. As Jiang Xiong raised the saber high above his head, a thick, murderous aura gathered on the blade and his body. Jiang Xiong's true yuan and baleful chi fused together, with his martial Dao saber intent, turning illusory into real, forming a set of bone armor on his body. The bone saber in his hand also became extremely huge, as if it could split the heavens. Black wind and scarlet blood were absorbed into the white bone, causing the white bone's baleful aura to become even more intense. Jiang Xiong let out a muffled roar, his saber chopping down towards Yan Zhaoga once more. The supreme martial art of the evil shifting sect, the gloomy sifting white bone saber, which was superior to the profound dark saber chi, and the blood sea saber chi, the ferocious saber move, and the baleful aura caused heaven and earth to wail. Looking at this saber, Yan Zhaoga's expression did not change in the slightest as he extended a hand, spreading his fingers wide. The sword light transformed into numerous azure dragons that coiled around each other at this moment. It was as if the muscles and tendons of a human body were intertwined to form a huge palm. The shining giant hand directly grabbed Jiang Xiong's bone saber with the momentum of holding up the sky. The baleful aura of the saber wildly destroyed this huge palm, but it was all in vain. The moment the bone saber was grabbed by the giant hand, it was instantly immobilized. It was completely fixed in the air. No matter how hard Jiang Xiong tried, he could not move it at all. Not to mention continuing forward, it was wishful thinking to even withdraw his saber and retreat. Yan Zhaoga's palm that was vast as the heavens and the earth constricted at this moment, as though the heavens and the earth had transformed into a cage. Jiang Xiong was completely unable to extricate himself. Amidst the deep roar, light flashed above Jiang Xiong's head. The 8 spirit flowers shone brightly, as if they were communicating with heaven and earth. His concept was unleashed to the maximum, but he was still like an ant trying to shake a tree, unable to advance or retreat. The evil shifting sect martial practitioners were all greatly shocked. One of the 2 late essence spirit martial grandmasters who were attacking the spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners hurriedly separated, chopping towards Yan Zhaoga with his saber, wanting to help Jiang Xiong escape. While the other evil shifting sect martial practitioners were still clashing with Yang Chufan, Fong Min, and the others, their minds were already in a state of chaos at this moment. Yang Chufan and the others did not make use of this chance to counterattack, as they too looked stunned at the scene before them. It is rumored that when the dark evil Jiang Xiong was in the mid-essence spirit stage, his spirit sprout sprouted, obtaining 9 spirit leaves. When he stepped into the late essence spirit stage, afterwards, the 9 leaves blossomed into 8 flowers, being a powerful foundation inferior only to the 9 leaves blossoming 9 flowers. Therefore, he possesses such great strength. The Spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners exchanged looks. From what we have seen today, we know that the rumors are not false. The 3rd of the 10 strongest Essence Spirit martial grandmasters is well-deserved. However, even such a powerful Jiang Xiong, accompanied by a spirit artifact, and one with a saber, executing the supreme martial art of the evil shifting sect, the dim shifting white bone saber, was still unable to stand against Yan Zhaoga. Yang Chufan felt bitter. While also at the late essence spirit stage, me and those 2 evil shifting sect martial grandmasters joining forces might not be Jiang Xiong's match. Where exactly did this youth pop out from? The question within their hearts was currently also the question within the hearts of all the evil shifting sect martial practitioners. Yan Zhaoga completely ignored that late essence spirit martial grandmaster of the evil shifting sect who was assaulting him as he appraised the illusory scene of light above Jiang Xiong's head rather interestedly, looking at those 8 spirit flowers. Right, also at the 8 flowers, just a little stronger than that Haixingjia. Yan Zhaoga laughed. This means that this person should be 9 leaves blossoming 8 flowers, while that Haixingjia is 8 leaves blossoming 8 flowers. Yan Zhaoga locked onto Jiang Xiong's dim, shifting white bone saber with the heavenly broad creed palm, casually striking out with his other hand, scattering the blood sea saber chi of that evil shifting sect martial grandmaster. I wonder what cultivation base your sect's #1 expert possesses. Is it a martial saint? Yan Zhaoga asked casually. I wonder if he has a sacred artifact. Jiang Xiong's face was covered in sweat, unable to speak. Fong Min now called out. The chief of the evil shifting sect is not a martial saint, and they also don't have a sacred artifact. The group of evil shifting sect martial practitioners roared furiously in unison. That evil shifting sect martial grandmaster staring at Yan Zhaoga sang in a muffled tone. So what? Our chief is ranked 4th amongst the top 10 transcending mortality experts, our sect possessing as many experts as there are clouds. We admit that we have underestimated you, underestimating you. However, if you think that you or the power behind you can do anything to our sect, feel free to come at us. If you have the guts, leave us all here today." Yan Zhaoge laughed. "You misunderstand." Hearing his words, the faces of Yang Chufan, Fang Min, and the others abruptly turned pale, while the evil-shifting sect martial practitioners all heaved a sigh of relief, their faces regaining their proud, confident expressions as they felt that their sect's power had intimidated this solitary martial practitioner who had sprung out of nowhere. The more a solitary martial practitioner faced a major sect, the more it would appear that he was alone. While he might not be at a disadvantage here, in order to avoid enraging the seniors and experts of the other side's sects, he would often be helpless. It was just that these evil-shifting sect martial practitioners did not dare to relax completely. The spirit Rhino Island that Yang Chufan, Fang Min, and the others hailed from was a massive entity that was not inferior to their evil-shifting sect in the least. If Spirit Rhino Island protected him, perhaps this youth before them would dare to take the risk out of desperation. Yang Chufan, Fang Min, and the others all had the same thought as they wanted to speak up in support of Yan Zhaoge, boosting his courage. However, they heard Yan Zhaoge continue. "I asked if your sect has a martial saint and a sacred artifact in order to gain a better understanding of you, so that if I were to face your sect in the future, I would be prepared. It has nothing to do with whether or not I kill you now." Yan Zhaoge shook his head. "Don't think too much. Whether or not your sect has a martial saint, you are already dead men." Saying thus, Yan Zhaoge retracted his palm, that massive palm that had condensed sword light, and grabbed onto Jiang Xiong's saber, retracting as well, dragging Jiang Xiong over. Unable to resist, Jiang Xiong's figure shifted. Yan Zhaoge raised his other palm high into the air, slamming down with it, resembling the collapse of the heavens. To be continued. Chapter 499. Whether or not your evil-shifting sect has a martial saint, a sacred artifact, or not, you are all dead for sure today. If you have a martial saint, I won't even be merciful in killing you, much less transcending mortality martial grandmasters and essence talisman martial grandmasters. Yan Zhaoge's expression was calm, his tone seemingly casual, as it carried no killing intent at all. Still, his palm descended, directly shattering the bone armor on Jiang Xiong's body. Jiang Xiong wanted to struggle, but Yan Zhaoge struck out with another palm, directly smashing his skull apart, white and red everywhere. All the evil-shifting sect martial practitioners instantly felt their entire bodies turn icy cold. Not daring to say anything else, they directly turned and fled in all directions. After slaying Jiang Xiong, Yan Zhaoge substituted a sword with his finger, stabbing into the air from afar. Streak after streak of sword light shot out, resembling the stars of the sky, illuminating the north. Sword lights that resembled the rain of a starry river descended from the sky, piercing through one evil-shifting sect martial practitioner after another. Corpses fell into the sea one after another, blood spraying into the sky as the surface of the sea down below was quickly dyed dark red. Yan Zhaoge strode forward, instantly arriving beside a late essence spirit martial grandmaster of the evil-shifting sect. The other party's cultivation base was not just a level lower than Jiang Xiong's. Yan Zhaoge's sword light transformed into numerous green dragons, easily slaying him. Gazing back, he saw another late essence spirit martial grandmaster fleeing in the opposite direction. After all, he was a late essence spirit martial grandmaster, moving extremely quickly as he had already fled virtually without a trace. Yan Zhaoge's expression was leisurely as he did not give chase as he drew back Heaven Shocker, his true essence transforming into a sharp arrow. The sound of thunder resounded, a purple light shooting out before exploding in the distance. That late essence spirit martial grandmaster of the evil-shifting sect instantly perished, keeping Heaven Shocker, Yen Zhaoge now turned to look at Yang Chufan and the others who were still rather taken aback as he smiled. Let us continue our earlier topic. Can you tell me how to get to Changli Mountain? Yang Chufan, Fang Min, and the others were shocked as they looked at Yen Zhaoge before them, feeling rather speechless for a time. Where we are now is the bewildering Maze Sea. We need to head south, passing through the Spirit Rhino Sea where our sect is located before arriving at the Directionless Sea where Changli Mountain is located. Yang Chufan was the first to react as he answered straightforwardly. While the three seas are adjacent, there is still quite some distance between them. As one of the 6 evil sects, the evil shifting sect was a massive entity just like Spirit Rhino Island of the 7 Pillars of Good. However, Yen Zhaoge had killed the core figure of the evil shifting sect, the rising star of the senior generation, the dark, evil Jiang Xiong, just like that. Shifting sect, martial shifting sect, martial practitioners that numbered several dozens had not, but Yen had killed them all. Yang Chufan now knew that the young man in front of him was an extremely ruthless person. It was best for him and his group to adapt to the circumstances. There was no lack of lawless desperados in any place. If you were stronger than him, there was naturally no need to say anything. But if you couldn't do anything to him, then it was better to make peace. After all, if you fought, the other party wouldn't care about the sect behind you. The dead could not be revived. If they clashed with this vicious person, even if their sect could avenge them afterwards, they would definitely be at a disadvantage now. Hearing Yang Chufan's words, Yen Zhaoge nodded slightly before continuing. My family and I are often overseas, being rather ignorant of the current experts of this world. I have only heard of the 7 Pillars of Good and the 6 evil sects, but I do not know which sects and which experts are there. The Spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners exchanged looks. This was not some secret. Any random martial practitioner of the vast ocean world would be able to tell them a thing or two. Finally, it was still Yang Chufan who answered. The 7 Pillars of Good are Water Crystal Palace, Changli Mountain, the Blood Dragon Sect, Myriad Sword Pool, the Spirit Returning Sect, and the Blazing Wind Sect. Our Spirit Rhino Island lineage is also amongst them. The 6 evil sects are the Sacred Evil Sect, the Dragon Slayer Sect, the Brilliant Thunder Sect, Green Snake Island, Soul Shocking Island, and the Evil Shifting Sect just now. Amongst them, Water Crystal Palace, the Sacred Evil Sect, and the Dragon Slayer Sect all have martial saints, while the Blood Dragon Sect, Myriad Sword Pool, and Soul Shocking Island respectively possess the sacred artifacts, the 9 dragon fingers, the floating sinking sword, and the Soul Shocking box. Hearing his words, Yen Zhaoge raised his brows slightly. Water Crystal Palace? Yang Chufan nodded. That's right. There were some things that he did not say, because it would be putting down his sect's might. While they stood on equal footing with the Blood Dragon Sect and Myriad Sword Pool, comparatively speaking, Water Crystal Palace was the most powerful of the 7 Pillars of Good. Yen Zhaoge looked like he was smiling, whilst also not as he pursed his lips, not continuing on this topic, as he instead asked, Your sect seems to be rather familiar with Changli Mountain. I wonder if Changli Mountain has produced any new experts in recent years? He did not directly state Shui Fei's name, only seeming to ask very casually. However, Yang Chufan nodded. If it is Changli Mountain itself, there isn't. However, there is a youth surnamed Shijun, nicknamed the Big Dipper Sword. He is the most famous rising star of the vast ocean world in recent years, hard-pressed to be defeated amongst those of the same age. He is the disciple of a guest elder of Changli Mountain, and it is said that he grew up in Changli Mountain. While Yen Zhaoge did not reveal it on his face, he was rather puzzled within. The person he had actually wanted to ask about was Shui Fei. While he knew that little Jun possessed shocking talent, it had only been over a year since they had last met. How could such a great change have occurred? Yen Zhaoge's heart jolted slightly as he thought of a possibility, smiling nonchalantly, hard-pressed to be defeated amongst those of the same age. How old is he? Looking at Yen Zhaoge, Yang Chufan pulled back the corners of his mouth. While he is a little younger than you, even if he is of the same age, he would definitely not be able to compare to you. I heard that Jun, 20 this year, is already an outer aura martial scholar. Yen Zhaoge did not say anything, thinking that it was indeed so. The flow of time in this vast ocean world was different from that of the Eight Extremities world. Thanks to the eye of the Thunder Emperor and an instant's thunder with his current cultivation base, he was already able to grasp some of the changes in the flow of time. However, wanting to compare the difference in the flow of time between the two worlds, he would have to spend a long time adapting to the environment of the new world before he could slowly make a comparison. And now, hearing Yang Chufan's words, after making some estimations, Yen Zhaoge came to a general understanding that the flow of time in the vast ocean world was roughly 5 times that of the Eight Extremities world. In other words, a year in the Eight Extremities world would be roughly 5 years here. Thinking of this, Yen Zhaoge sighed inwardly. To him, to those of Broad Creed Mountain, it had only been over a year since he had parted with Xue Fei and Jun. However, to Xue Fei and his disciple, they had already been drifting in this foreign world for many years. Still, hearing Yang Chufan's words, Yen Zhaoge could be considered to have completely set his mind at ease regarding Xue Fei and the others. At the very least, they were all still alive, no accidents having happened to them. Also, from the looks of it, they were living pretty well in Changli Mountain. With that, there was no need for him to be anxious. Looking at the people of Spirit Rhino Island before turning to look at the barrier behind him, Yen Zhaoge suddenly laughed. Previously, I was busy searching for Changli Mountain. In the end, I passed by a treasure mountain, but did not enter, coming out empty-handed. I wonder what exactly is here. Hearing his words, the hearts of Yang Chufan, Fong Min, and the others instantly thumped, bitterness appearing on their faces. To be continued. Chapter 500. Yen Zhaoge was all smiles as he looked at Yang Chufan and the others. Yang Chufan smiled bitterly. We also coincidentally obtained news of the location of the barrier. It was rumored that there were treasures here, so we came to try our luck. We are also not clear on what exactly is here. Seeing you emerge from the barrier, we had still thought that you would be able to tell us a thing or two. Yen Zhaoge spread his hands apart, smiling. You also don't believe that I would emerge from the barrier empty-handed, right? Yang Chufan and the others smiled awkwardly, while Yen Zhaoge nodded nonchalantly. All right, if it were me, I wouldn't believe it either. Since that is so, let's really take a look around. Anyway, I already know how to get to Changli Mountain. Yen Zhaoge leisurely turned, strolling back into the barrier as the Spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners exchanged looks, smiling bitterly without end. Fong Min smiled bitterly. Forget it. If not for this young master Yen, we would probably already have perished at the hands of Jiang Xiong and the others. We should be the ones thanking him for saving our lives. Other than her being the granddaughter of Spirit Rhino Island's chief and having been captured alive by Jiang Xiong due to her unique status, the others would have been hard-pressed to survive. Yang Chufan nodded. I don't know how this person entered, but he was originally within the barrier. Whether or not he found any treasures earlier, he was already here before us, not really taking advantage of us. After a pause, Yang Chufan continued. Most importantly, we are also unable to stop him. The other Spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners beside him all had rather helpless expressions on their faces. Now that he has returned, what do we do? Even if we enter, we won't be able to snatch any treasures from him. Yang Chufan said, "This barrier is vast, covering such a vast area. Its depths are hard to predict. Alone, he might not be able to take care of everything. If we enter, we might be able to obtain some fortune." A spirit Rhino Island martial practitioner beside him asked hesitantly, "This person is very domineering, also vicious and merciless. If we obtain a fortune, will he snatch it from us?" Fong Min said, "We have to try. If we obtain it, it is our fate. If we don't, it is our fortune. At the very least, it is better than dying at the hands of the evil shifting sects Jiang Xiong and the others." Yang Chufan said, "Since it's a fortuitous encounter, it's often not decided by strength alone. If we can fight for it, we will naturally fight for it." He glanced at Fong Min and said, "Junior Marshal Brother Fong is nearby. Previously, he was trapped by Jiang Xiong and the others and couldn't be contacted. Now that he's here, we won't have to worry about this Yen guy forcing himself on us. At the end of the day, this person has helped us. Our spirit, Rhino Island, clearly distinguishes between gratitude and enmity. We just have to repay him later on. However, there's no need for us to avoid him every time we see him or even hide from him when searching for treasures." Hearing his words, the other spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners all nodded. "That is how it should be." Fong Min asked curiously, "Second uncle also came to the bewildering maze sea?" Yang Chufan said, "That's right. He sent a signal and left a message. Let's also enter the barrier." Currently, within the barrier, Yen Zhaoge strode amidst the air atop the sea, temporarily not considering the matter of the Eight Extremities world and also not having to worry about Shi Jun and Su Fei. Yen Zhaoge now placed all his attention on the barrier before him, gradually having a different feeling about it. "Oh, interesting. This enchantment is not ordinary. It covers such a vast area, but it is usually deep and reserved, making it hard for people to detect. It is grand yet subtle. This kind of method is not something a great grandmaster can do." Seeing it, Yen Zhaoge clicked his tongue in wonder. "It feels a little like when I entered the old residence of the glacial dragon martial saint back then. Perhaps this is yet another legacy site of a martial saint." "Yes, and also a martial saint expert who is proficient in the Tao of barriers and seals," Yen Zhaoge thought as he advanced unceasingly. He would occasionally send out a streak of sword light shooting straight into the skies. The sword light seemed to vanish into the horizon, but very quickly, ripples that resembled water would appear above the seemingly empty sky. Feeling the changes occurring to this barrier as it was shaken, Yen Zhaoge unceasingly adjusted his direction. The spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners entered the barrier after him, Yen Zhaoge not stopping them. As they tried to follow behind him, Yen Zhaoge smiled, seemingly not minding it at all. However, while his speed seemed leisurely, the more he walked, the more Yang Chufan and the others were unable to keep up with his speed, being left behind by him to the point where they could no longer be seen. After a long period of searching, Yen Zhaoge suddenly halted, standing within the sky and gazing downwards. There was nothing in the air above the boundless sea, no islands to be seen. After gazing at the surface of the sea down below for a moment, Yen Zhaoge suddenly raised his palm, striking downwards. His true essence condensed into a single line, breaking through the seawater and heading downwards, unceasingly descending before his palm finally landed at the bottom of the sea. Yen Zhaoge could clearly feel an intense rebounding force emanating from the depths of the sea, even causing him to feel a chill in his heart. With this force, it can't be wrong. This is the seal left behind by a martial saint. Yen Zhaoge raised his brows slightly, looking at the sea down below that had been split apart by his palm force. The seawater dispersed into the surroundings, revealing a massive spirit formation that flickered with radiance at the bottom of the sea. Streams of light circulated on the spirit formation, a powerful force beginning to expand unceasingly into the surroundings, stirring the seawater as a massive whirlpool was gradually formed. With the spirit formation as its center, the whirlpool rotated unceasingly, the seawater within a radius of thousands of kilometers being stirred together, a rather majestic sight to behold. Yan Zhaoge descended, landing within the whirlpool, heading towards the spirit formation at the bottom of the sea. The center of the whirlpool merged with the spirit formation, seemingly piercing through space as a door was formed. As Yan Zhaoge strode through the door, before him was a foreign dimension. This space gave off a feeling of barrenness. As Yan Zhaoge gazed over, all he saw was a blurry scene. He could not feel much abundant spiritual qi, nor did he feel any shocking power, just feeling heavy and heavy. Yan Zhaoge closed his eyes, his entire body's true essence circulating as streams of clear qi seemed to flow out of his acupoints, next drifting indistinctly as they expanded towards this foreign dimension. Where the clear qi passed, it was like it was one with space, as the situation here was displayed to Yan Zhaoge in its entirety. Even with his sensory abilities raised to the maximum, Yan Zhaoge still felt that this place was completely empty, causing him to wonder if he had been a step too late. Even if there were treasures here, they had already been taken away by someone else. Yan Zhaoge's mind jolted slightly as he felt a stream of clear qi seemingly vanishing into the sea, actually losing its connection with him. Not shocked, Yan Zhaoge was instead overjoyed, a hint of a smile appearing at the corners of his mouth as he immediately set off in that direction. A moment later, a stone statue appeared before Yan Zhaoge. The stone statue depicted a thin old man seated in the meditative position, alone within this foreign dimension. His surroundings were dark and gloomy, with no vegetation, no soil at all. Looking at this stone statue, Yan Zhaoge fell into deep thought. Meanwhile, outside of this foreign dimension, within the region of sea that was enveloped by a barrier, Yang Chu Fan and the others were currently walking on the great sea. Suddenly, joyous expressions appeared on their faces. Swiveling their heads, they saw a figure traversing through the air in pursuit of them. His majestic power shook the heavens and the earth, his martial true intent being of Spirit Rhino Island's direct lineage, his cultivation base clearly being that of an Essence Talisman Martial Grandmaster. Fangmin called out happily, "Second uncle!" Chapter 5:01. That figure came to a halt before the people of Spirit Rhino Island. It was a middle-aged man in his 40s with an authoritative bearing. Fang Zhaohong, the youngest son of Spirit Rhino Island's chief Fang, Fangmin's uncle. Seeing Fang Zhaohong appear here, the Spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners, Yang Chufan included, all heaved a sigh of relief. Amongst the newer experts of Spirit Rhino Island's senior generation, Fang Zhaohong was the indisputable number one. He had been a genius whose name had shaken the vast ocean world in the past, now also an elite amongst martial practitioners of the same cultivation level. As compared to his cultivation base, he was still young, but his potential was still limitless. He was slightly older than Jiang Xiong of the Evil Shifting Sect and Hai Jingjie of the Blood Dragon Sect. Back when he had been an Essence Spirit Martial Grandmaster, he had been one of the top 10 Essence Spirit experts, ranking even higher than Jiang Xiong and Hai Jingjie. After he had stepped into the Essence Talisman Martial Grandmaster realm, the rankings of Jiang Xiong and the others had advanced. Fang Zhaohong nodded slightly towards Fang Min before looking at Yang Chu Fan. "Senior apprentice Brother Yang, what exactly happened? The information you transmitted was too simple." Yang Chu Fan hurriedly explained the situation. A Spirit Rhino Island disciple finally said, "Senior apprentice Uncle Fang, that person surnamed Yen has returned, entering the barrier once more." We do not know where he is now. What exactly? Feng Xiaohong said slowly. If there is a treasure, we definitely cannot let him get it. And now, it is not a matter of treasure. We have to be careful of this person's schemes. If we can capture him, we will. Otherwise, we can also kill him on the spot. Fang Min was rather taken aback. Second uncle, he saved us. Otherwise, facing dark, evil Jiang Xiong, we wouldn't even have been able to ask you for help. Little Min, you are still too inexperienced. Fang Xiaohong shook his head, gazing at Yang Chufan, Fang Min, and the others. Just now you said that the gap in the barrier was not opened by you using the Zhongyuan spirit flag, but by that Yan Zhaoga. Is that correct? The Spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners exchanged looks before nodding in unison. Fang Xiaohong asked again, Then, do you know what he used to open the barrier? They shook their heads in unison, Fang Xiaohong snorting. It was the Blood Ghost Heavenly Talisman. The younger Spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners had yet to react when Yang Chufan involuntarily exclaimed, Blood Ghost Heavenly Talisman? Fang Xiaohong nodded with a solemn face. When I came in through the gap, I felt that something was wrong, so I stopped to study it. The remnant aura and traces were the holy evil sect's Blood Ghost Heavenly Talisman. It's rumored that the Blood Ghost Heavenly Talisman is a treasure that the sacred evil sect obtained from unearthing the Great Calamity ruins. Its quantity is limited, and one used means one less. Yang Chufan muttered to himself. After all, he was a veteran of Jianghu. Although he could not distinguish the Blood Ghost Heavenly Talisman, he had heard of its existence and use. Fang Xiaohong said, That's right. After so many years, logically speaking, the holy evil sect shouldn't have much left, but such a rare and precious treasure has appeared in this person's hands, which shows that his intentions are not small, and we must guard against him. Yang Chufan mumbled. The martial art that person used was very unfamiliar. Fang Xiaohong swept a glance at him. The sacred evil sect has always been mysterious and unfathomable. No one has been able to clearly find out its roots. Fang Min said rather hesitantly, He killed someone of the evil shifting sect at the end of the day, and not just any random disciple at that. It was dark evil Jiang Xiong, the evil shifting sect's senior generation expert with the greatest potential. The 6 evil sects often have internal strife, with even those of the same sect killing each other from time to time, much less those of different sections. Fang Xiaohong looked solemnly at Fang Min. The other party clearly wants to gain your trust by injuring himself in order to harm our spirit, Rhino Island. Fang Xiaohong looked at Fang Min, pausing for a moment before secretly sending via sound transmission. I especially suspect that he has specifically come for you, wanting to use you to accomplish his evil deeds. Little Min, you are still too inexperienced. Do not be easily deceived and used by others. Hearing his words, Fang Min's face reddened slightly as she lowered her head. Second uncle, he did not even look at me once. Fang Xiaohong snorted. It is just a small trick. Otherwise, why would he still remain within this barrier? The treasures have long since been looted. Returning and entering the barrier means that he definitely has a follow-up plan. Looking at his niece, his expression eased slightly. Little Min, you have already grown up. Still, you must know that the pugilistic world is dangerous. While our spirit Rhino Island does not have a martial saint presiding over it, even a martial saint would not dare to lightly step onto our spirit Rhino Island. In order to destroy our foundations, the enemy will use all sorts of methods. The disciples of our sect must be vigilant at all times. Fang Xiaohong's gaze swept the surrounding region of sea, his expression rather dark. This kid is truly sinister and crafty. Sadly, he made a mistake, not knowing that I once saw the traces of the Blood Ghost Heavenly Talisman being used elsewhere, thus giving himself away. Yang Chufan asked, What do we do now? Fang Xiaohong said, The sacred evil sect's intentions are not small, wanting to harm our spirit, Rhino Island. We naturally cannot just sit here and wait for death. It would be best if we could capture this person alive and figure out his plot. If that is not possible, we will strike first and kill him. Evil and crooked, everyone has the right to slay them. As you say, this kid possessing such a cultivation base at such a young age is truly terrifying. Given a little more time, he will definitely be another sacred evil in the future. He definitely cannot be left alive. Thinking that his scheme has succeeded in deceiving your trust, just as he is feeling pleased with himself, his wariness will instead drop. This would be a great time to slay him. Standing in midair, Feng Xiaohong closed his eyes and carefully felt the spiritual qi flow of the surrounding region of sea. Oh, there is a vortex that has not dissipated for a long time. He opened his eyes. It is very likely to be there. Saying thus, he transformed into a streak of light, shooting into the distance. Within the foreign dimension, Yan Zhaoge was currently seated in the meditative position, facing that stone statue. Streams of clear qi emanated from his body before coiling and landing on that stone statue. The clear qi connected Yan Zhaoge with the stone statue. The acupoints of Yan Zhaoge's entire body shuddered together, causing specks of light to light up on the corresponding acupoints of that stone statue. The specks of light resembled the numerous stars of the universe. As the light lit up, a vigorous feeling of power gradually emanated from the stone statue. That power was extremely terrifying, as even the current Yan Zhaoge felt shocked. Still, he felt even more joy. This really is a good thing. A hint of a smile appeared at the corners of Yan Zhaoge's mouth. Still, Yan Zhaoge quickly felt that someone else had entered this foreign dimension. His gaze turned cold slightly as the clear qi connected to the stone statue was instantly severed, being retracted within his body as the flickering specks of light on the stone statue dimmed as well. Turning and gazing over, Yan Zhaoge saw a few figures enter the foreign dimension. Their leader was a middle-aged man at the 7th level of the martial Grandmaster realm, the early essence talisman stage. Beside that middle-aged man was Yang Chufan. Seeing Yan Zhaoge, Yang Chufan hurriedly said to the middle-aged man beside him, "Junior apprentice Brother Feng, this is that young master Yan Zhaoge who saved us earlier." The middle-aged man nodded, first bowing towards Yan Zhaoge. "Spirit Rhino Island's Feng Xiaohong thanks this friend for saving my fellow disciples." Chapter 5:02. Looking at this middle-aged man of the early essence talisman stage before him, Yan Zhaoge nodded slightly, "Greetings." As the gazes of those of Spirit Rhino Island fell on the stone statue behind Yan Zhaoge, they were all rather taken aback. Feng Xiaohong's gaze swept past the stone statue, not remaining on it as he turned and said to Yan Zhaoge, "If you are free, why not come to my Spirit Rhino Island for a visit, allowing us to express our gratitude?" Yan Zhaoge smiled, shaking his head. "I intend to make a trip to Chongli Mountain next. If I have the time in the future, I might be able to trouble your clan." Feng Xiaohong said, "Our sect welcomes you with open arms." Looking at the stone statue beside him, Yan Zhaoge smiled. "To tell you the truth, in this foreign dimension, I only found this thing. I am ashamed to say that I still have not completely understood it. It should be something good, but it's obvious that it can't be divided. What does your sect say?" Feng Xiaohong raised his hand and made a please gesture. He slowly said, "If it were someone else, our sect would still fight for it. Treasures without an owner should belong to the most capable. There's no such thing as first come, first served. However, Your Excellency has just saved many of our fellow disciples from the hands of the evil shifting sect, and we are grateful for Your Excellency's kindness. Since Your Excellency has arrived first and discovered this treasure first, we have no face to compete with you. As he said this, he retreated, indicating that he would not compete with Yen Zhaoge, Yang Chufan, and the other spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners who had accompanied him retreated as well. It looked as if it wanted to leave the foreign dimension. Feng Zhaohong said, "We will wait outside. If Sir wishes to head for the directionless sea, where Changli Mountain is located, the shortest route would be through our sex spirit Rhino Sea. We can travel together. You possess such shocking cultivation at such a young age. Please guide the youths of my spirit, Rhino Island." Yen Zhaoge smiled slightly. "You are too polite." Seeing the figures of Feng Zhaohong and the others vanish before his eyes, Yen Zhaoge did not continue communicating with the stone statue. Instead, he grabbed it with his power, preparing to first collect this mysterious treasure before leaving this place. As his true essence swept along the stone statue, it just shook a little, as Yen Zhaoge wasn't even able to move it with his first strike. With Yen Zhaoge's current cultivation base, even a mountain could be broken apart and uprooted from the ground. However, when he moved the stone statue, he felt as if he was shaking the entire foreign dimension. This feeling was even heavier than when he had taken the true dragon's body at the former residence of the glacial dragon martial saint. Yen Zhaoge's expression didn't change, as he exerted even more force, at the same time streams of clear qi emanating from his body, infusing into the acupoints of that stone statue. The entire foreign space trembled slightly, but that heavy stone statue finally left the ground. Yen Zhaoge opened his shadow-shrinking pouch, wanting to keep it within, yet found it extremely difficult. Using the same old method, the pillar of the divine palace once again displayed its effect, suppressing the stone statue. The stone statue actually felt much lighter, but just at this time, light suddenly flickered above Yen Zhaoge's head. Streams of light intertwined, forming a round mirror. In the light of the mirror, a figure appeared. It was Feng Zhaohong, who had just left. Feng Zhaohong appeared just inches away from Yen Zhaoge, then struck out towards him with both his palms. Spirit Rhino Island's supreme martial art, spiritual light flash. Borrowing the martial intent that he had secretly left behind, Feng Zhaohong's sneak attack this time had traveled 1,000 miles in an instant, catching everyone off guard. He returned, his palms descending together. Jade light flickered as a massive true martial talisman appeared, profound and indiscernible. However, darkness suddenly obstructed the space between him and Yen Zhaoge. With this, the distance of mere inches became the distance between the heavens and the earth. Feng Zhaohong's heart sank as he changed his stance, streams of jade light circulating as he advanced amidst the darkness. However, the sound of thunder suddenly resounded amidst the boundless darkness. The next moment, the strange white light of thunder filled the air, shooting towards Feng Zhaohong like a tidal wave. Feng Zhaohong was slightly shocked as he hurriedly retracted his palm and retreated, his entire person seeming to transform into a streak of jade light as he shifted within the air. Enveloped by the thunder of eternal night, Yen Zhaoge's figure was indistinctly visible. Oh, Spirit Rhino Island's martial arts also have their unique aspects. Feng Zhaohong knit his brows, striking out towards Yen Zhaoge with one palm while beckoning towards the distant air with his other palm. A mirror light flickered within the air. It was a high-grade spirit artifact. Amidst the surging radiance, Feng Zhaohong's figure flickered as he arrived before Yen Zhaoge once more. Yen Zhaoge placed one hand on the shoulder of the stone statue as he flicked his sleeve with the other, the roar of a dragon resounding as green light flickered within his sleeve. Wielded by Yen Zhaoge, the high-grade spirit artifact, the green abyss sword, transformed into a green dragon, shooting viciously towards Feng Zhaohong's jade light mirror. An essence spirit martial grandmaster has a high-grade spirit artifact. Feng Zhaohong's heart sunk, once more as he completely calmed his mind, unleashing Spirit Rhino Island's supreme martial art, the Spirit Rhino Palm, to the maximum, executed by Fang Xiaohong. This supreme martial art was incomparably far from Yang Chufan's as compared to the heavens and the earth. Jade light flickered within Fang Xiaohong's eyes, resembling two round mirrors as Yan Zhaoga's sword was reflected within them, as well as the possible variations that might follow. As the true martial talisman circulated, streams of profound aura connected to the surrounding area. Fang Xiaohong transformed into a jade light, evading Yan Zhaoga's sword. Jade light flickered continuously as he analyzed the variations of Yan Zhaoga's sword, whilst also looking for its weak points, attempting to counterattack. Seeing this, Yan Zhaoga laughed lightly, telepathy suppressing the enemy first. His sword stance did not change, his gaze suddenly becoming as deep as the sea. Fang Xiaohong's mind wavered slightly as it was as though a massive spirit turtle had appeared before his eyes, unmoving and unmoving as it lay within the depths of the sea. It was also like the sea's surface was completely still, without any wind or waves at all, without any ripples at all. His high-grade spirit artifact, the Jade Light Mirror, was perfectly compatible with Spirit Rhino Island's supreme martial art, the Spirit Rhino Palm. Unleashing their effects together, it predicted the enemy first, suppressing the enemy and obtaining victory. However, at this moment, his mind was completely empty as he was completely unable to extrapolate Yan Zhaoga's following moves. As Yan Zhaoga executed the coiling dragon sleeve, he also executed the mantra of the stabilizing ocean spirit fist of the 6 spirit demonic fists, instantly leaving Fang Xiaohong helpless. "I don't know why you want to fight with me," Yan Zhaoga said mildly. "Still, I actually don't care about the reason. Don't tell me that it's a misunderstanding or whatever." Before his words had landed, Yan Zhaoga's sword stance changed once more. As the azure dragon flew, it abruptly opened its mouth, roaring. A river of stars tilted as specks of starlight filled the air, enveloping Fang Xiaohong. Yan Zhaoga was no longer using the stabilizing ocean spirit fist now. A spiritual light flickered within Fang Xiaohong's mind as he was able to extrapolate the variations of his sword once more. However, as Yan Zhaoga's sword struck over at this moment, myriad variations seemed to exist within, as Fang Xiaohong was completely unable to extrapolate them all. In an instant, Fang Xiaohong was struck by a number of swords. His injuries were not serious, as compared to his body's injuries. What made Fang Xiaohong feel even worse was that he felt as though countless things had been forcibly stuffed into his head, as though they were about to explode. That uncomfortable feeling left Fang Xiaohong wishing that he could retract his cultivation, not daring to use the Spirit Rhino Palm again. "Aren't you very good at extrapolating? You can't take it anymore?" Yan Zhaoga smiled, having already completely kept the stone statue now, without the stone statue holding him back. Yan Zhaoga's power erupted mightily, no longer using nimble fighting techniques, as he instead directly concentrated his power and launched a frenzied head-on attack. "You can't do complicated things. Let's do something simpler then." Saying thus, Yan Zhaoga slashed through the air, chopping towards Fang Xiaohong with the momentum of splitting the heavens. To be continued. Chapter 5:03. As Yan Zhaoga slashed out with his sword, the myriad starlights were retracted, seemingly merging into one. As the azure dragon roared, it merged with the starry river. 7 spots of light appeared on the surface of its body, looking like the Big Dipper hanging in the sky. The first move, dragon riding the 7 stars, turned the endless sword light into one, and headed straight for Fang Xiaohong. Fang Xiaohong's mind relaxed slightly. The thousands of changes had all disappeared, leaving only one. His Spirit Rhino Island's Spirit Rhino Palm was about projecting variations and analyzing his opponent's next thoughts unceasingly dispelling the false and retaining the true, obtaining the one or more that were most likely to occur, from which he would consider how to deal with them. Previously, with Yan Zhaoge's myriad sword lights, innumerable possibilities had surged into Feng Xiaohong's mind at the same time. Every single one of them had seemed so realistic, making it hard for him to predict and choose. Now, it was much simpler. There was only one type of transformation. It should be said that this sword of Yan Zhaoge's did not intend to change at all. On the other hand, it was precisely this unchanging sword strike that seemed to have transformed the ordinary into the miraculous, and it converged the complicated into the simplest, causing Feng Xiaohong to be unable to deal with it. A powerful force was condensed in the sword, completely breaking through Feng Xiaohong's palm attack. Then, the sword stabbed forward, sealing off even his path of retreat. At this moment, Feng Xiaohong felt that he couldn't retreat even if he wanted to. He could only take this sword head-on. Faced with Yan Zhaoge's all-conquering sword, the essence talisman condensed of his martial true intent, and his true essence began to crack apart inch by inch, seemingly about to shatter. The movement of the sword was clear, but he just couldn't block it. Feng Xiaohong was greatly alarmed. With a fierce roar, his figure abruptly turned, transforming into a ray of light as he charged into the high-grade jade light mirror. At the critical moment, Feng Xiaohong executed the supreme martial art of spirit, Rhino Island, once more, spiritual light flashing. The jade light mirror remained where it was, having become Feng Xiaohong's substitute puppet as it shook intensely as it was pressured by Yan Zhaoge's sword light. Feng Xiaohong, however, couldn't care less about that now. "I can't leave." Yan Zhaoge's expression was indifferent as he wielded the green abyss sword with his right hand, his left hand having long since been prepared. He spread his fingers, then clenched them into a fist. Within Yan Zhaoge's palm, there seemed to exist a clump of chaos. As he spread his fingers, streams of chaotic air currents spread out and filled the void. When Yan Zhaoge clenched his fist, that region of chaos seemed to have transformed into a black hole. Everything in the surrounding void, whether tangible or intangible, seemed to be pulled by a boundless, immense force as they all flew towards Yan Zhaoge's left palm. In the space in front of him, the jade light mirror shook even more violently. Large amounts of light shot out from the air, shining for no reason. A wisp of jade light was forcibly sucked out of the jade light mirror, revealing Feng Xiaohong's figure once more. That terrifying sword light was already in front of Feng Xiaohong. Feng Xiaohong summoned the jade light mirror to protect himself, but with the sharpness of Yan Zhaoge's sword, where light flickered, fresh blood spurted madly from Feng Xiaohong's body. The sword light that had transformed into an azure dragon shattered Feng Xiaohong's talisman and pierced through his body. The sharp and tyrannical quintessential essence continued to wreak havoc in his body. Feng Xiaohong gritted his teeth and struggled to survive. Now that he already knew that he was not Yan Zhaoge's match, he only wished to be able to flee this place. Feng Min and the other Spirit Rhino Island disciples with lower cultivation bases had already been sent out of the barrier by him, returning to the Spirit Rhino Sea to seek reinforcements. As long as he did not die here, he would have a chance of escaping with his life. However, that sword light that had transformed into an azure dragon did not dissipate after having pierced through his body. Instead, it meandered about, coiling around Feng Xiaohong's body. The dragon scales stood erect, resembling infinite sword light that surged explosively at the same time, unceasingly blasting towards Feng Xiaohong. Yan Zhaoge's left hand did not cease in its movements. As he clenched his fist, a massive suction force dragged Feng Xiaohong before him. Then, Yan Zhaoge's left hand transformed into a bright glazed color, flickering with a golden light as it resembled Vajra. Feeling the terrifying power within Yan Zhaoge's left fist, the shadow of death loomed over Feng Xiaohong's heart. At the same time that Fang Xiaohong appeared to attack Yin Zhaoge, Yang Chu-fan, and the other two spirit Rhino Island martial practitioners also appeared at the entrance to the foreign dimension before rushing over in Yin Zhaoge's direction. However, as they neared, they saw a shocking scene. While they had witnessed how Yin Zhaoge had slain Jiang Xiong, they had still not thought that even the Essence Talisman Martial Grandmaster Fang Xiaohong would actually not be Yin Zhaoge's match at all. Why don't you guess? How much strength do I need to use to beat trash like you? Yin Zhaoge's joking words from back then surfaced in their minds as a chill involuntarily shot up from the soles of their feet to the top of their heads. Yang Chu-fan and the others all felt bitter within their hearts. Only now did they know that Yin Zhaoge had not been joking back then. Slaying dark, evil Jiang Xiong, who was bolstered by a mid-grade spirit artifact barehanded, Yin Zhaoge had not used his full strength at all. Currently, facing Yin Zhaoge, the Essence Talisman Martial Grandmaster Fang Xiaohong had also been beaten to the point of being completely unable to retaliate. Yin Zhaoge glanced at Yang Chu-fan and the other two from the corner of his eye. He saw that they were currently rushing over towards him, 6 palms and 3 streaks of jade light attacking towards his back. Clearly, they wanted to coordinate with Fang Xiaohong. Sadly, they had not thought that Fang Xiaohong would be defeated so quickly. Go! With just a thought from Yin Zhaoge, the Eternal Night Thunder Sword surged with boundless darkness, once more blocking before his opponents. Yang Chu-fan and the others had not thought that the situation would actually turn out like this. Of course, they could not even think about escaping. White thunderbolts exploded, instantly blasting Yang Chu-fan and the other two into disarray. Just struggling to stabilize themselves, they saw Yin Zhaoge execute the Vajra body, his left fist bright as Vajra. Yang Chu-fan hurriedly called out, "Please show mercy." There must be a misunderstanding here. Before his words had landed, Yin Zhaoge's fist had already descended. Fang Xiaohong's eyeballs seemed on the verge of imploding as a boom resounded, blood splattering everywhere. Seeing the blood spurting madly before them, Yang Chu-fan and the other two stared blankly, their mouths agape and tongue-tied, as though someone had grabbed them by the neck. Yin Zhaoge now swiveled his head to look at the trio, saying nonchalantly, "Misunderstanding? Speaking of misunderstanding now, what were you doing just now?" A spirit Rhino Island martial practitioner was somewhat unable to control his emotions as he roared sorrowfully, "You killed senior apprentice brother Fang, forming a blood enmity with my spirit Rhino Island." Yang Chu-fan shook his head repeatedly, an expression of absurd disbelief on his face. "How did the sacred evil sect produce someone like you? You first killed Jiang Xiong and then junior apprentice brother Fang. Even if the sacred evil sect is protecting you, the evil shifting sect, and our sect will not let you off." Yin Zhaoge smiled. "While I don't know who this person surnamed Fang is, it looks like his position in your spirit Rhino Island should not be low. I have already offended the evil shifting sect. If I offend you guys as well, it would undoubtedly be adding hail to snow. Let alone the fact that I want to go to the directionless sea, where Changli Mountain is located. I will also have to pass through the Spirit Rhino Sea that your Spirit Rhino Island occupies. You want to say this, don't you?" Yang Chu-fan looked dazedly at Yin Zhaoge. Yin Zhaoge's expression was calm as he brandished the sword within his hand. "Your logic is not wrong, but this does not mean that I have to endure it when you come to provoke me. Since you like to court death, I'll grant your wish then." Where his sword passed, the light of blood was everywhere. To be continued.